Killie begs, and in particular claims that EU regulations on the weighing of fish mean some are being rendered unfit for human consumption. The delegation will meet with members of the European Parliament and senior EU fisheries officials. The visit has been organised by Midlands North West MEP Colin Markey. He says it's important that the regulators hear the concerns of the industry and vice versa.
On the control side, they want to ensure that fish are correctly weighed, but equally the fishermen want to ensure that there's no damage to their fish in the process that's in place. If you're fishing the fish out of the sea and then they're not fit for human consumption, what is the point in that? So we clearly need a system that works for the industry as much as it works for the regulator.
The government was last night accused of treating turf like an illegal drug. Independent TD Michael Healy-Rae also told the Dáil that Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil were losing rural Ireland over the issue. It came during a debate on a Sinn Féin motion calling for a ban on the sale of turf to be scrapped. It's due to be introduced in September, but Deputy Healy-Rae claims Environment Minister Eamon Ryan has lost the plot.
Eamon Ryan, the Minister for reintroducing wolves into rural Ireland for shorter showers, the Minister for carpooling and us all walking to the village or cycling to get into this car that wouldn't be there in the first place for us, the Minister that has his foot firmly placed in his mouth from early in the morning till late at night. At this stage, he and his party are actually an embarrassment to the environmental movement in Ireland.
A Donegal deputy has described the lack of infrastructure in the northwest as a mortal sin. Deputy Padraig McLaughlin believes due to the absence of a real network and continued delays with the A5 road project that the Irish government should reinstate financial support for the City of Derry Airport. The government had previously funded the airport, but funding was withdrawn a decade ago. Deputy McLaughlin, speaking in the Dáil, says equal access to the entire country for people in the northwest is essential.
You can see how crucial this is, and we've let this go now for 10 years, so I appeal to you, Minister, and you know about geography representing a county like Galway. Like, we need to get access into Derry, North Donegal, equality of access for our people with the rest of the country.
In response, Minister of State at the Department of Transport Hildegard Naughton committed to work with the Taoiseach in reviewing the viability of air routes between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. And for weather now, sunny spells today with temperatures of 12 to 14 degrees in light easterly breezes. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
If you're flying soon, Dublin Airport advises you to allow plenty of time to check in your bag, pass through security screening, enjoy your airside experience and head to your flight. That can be up to 3.5 hours before your departure time. To prepare for security, have your liquids in containers of 100 millilitres or less in a single sealed bag separate to your hand luggage. For more information, please visit dublinairport.com. Wishing you a safe journey.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
And a very good morning to you on this beautiful, sunny, bright morning across the northwest of Ireland at 4 minutes past 9 on this Wednesday, the 27th of April. Hard to believe, another month almost in the bag. I do hope you're well. Plenty coming up to keep you entertained throughout the course of the next 3 hours. We want you to get involved as well with your calls and comments and anything you wish to talk to us about. 086 60 25,000, your WhatsApps and texts to that number, 086 60 25,000. Your calls come to us on 07491 25,000. Of course, if you're listening to us, as many of you do, on your smart speaker, perhaps you give your command to your Alexa or your Google or wherever it is and say play Highland Radio. Well, if you want to interact with us, 00353, drop the O and away you go with the rest of the number. If you want to email, it's comments@highlandradio.com. And good morning and welcome. If you choose to watch the show today, you can watch the 3 hours of the programme every day on your tablet, your laptop, your TV screen, via our website, highlandradio.com. You can click through and watch in browser, or subscribe to us on YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland, and you get notified then if you hit the bell when we're going live. And of course on the old reliable Facebook, Highland Radio or Highland Radio News and Sport, and chat with us there as well. Say hello. OK, let's look at the papers. Let's kick off with the Finn Valley Voice this morning. Finn Valley native Leah Fairman, who's been a regular guest on this programme, has joined the Western Development Commission as National Hub's executive. Ms Fairman was the driving force behind BASIC, the Ballybofey-Stranorlar-based social enterprise, which established the Base Enterprise Centre in 2015. Since its inception, the base has supported a wide community of startups, remote workers and small businesses. Quite an impressive building, that is, too. I was in it a few times and was very impressed. Well, the project saw its new DigiHub opened in 2021 by Minister Heather Humphreys. Well done to Leah and good luck in that new position. The Irish Times this morning tells that 7 mica houses have been fully fixed. Only 7 mica affected houses have been fully remediated since the opening of the Donegal County Council administered redress scheme in January 2020. The statistics, which emerged at a meeting of the Council's Housing and Corporate Strategic Policy Committee, has been heavily criticised. Councillors also learned that less than half of the 86 Stage 2 grant approval applications received have been approved, with 26 under assessment. A further 20 are waiting on further information and 40 have been approved. The Donegal Post this morning. Tweed is the new black for bikers. On Sunday, May 22, Killybegs man Joseph McCluskey will be hosting the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride in Donegal town with fellow men and women across the globe. The unique worldwide charity motorbike event is set to raise funds and awareness for prostate cancer and men's mental health on behalf of Movember. But instead of the popular leather apparel, usually associated with bikers, all of the Donegal participants will become the epitome of sartorial elegance, prompting memories of both gentlemanly days gone by and raising awareness of 2 extremely important health issues for the modern Donegal man. On to the Nationals now, and I had a feeling Eamon Ryan's interaction with the Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil backbenchers would be emotive, to say the least. It turned out to be the case, and Green Party leader Eamon Ryan has been warned by his coalition colleagues that his plan to ban the sale of turf could collapse the government. It's amazing. It's hugely important, and we know it is. But it always astonishes me with everything that's going on between MICA and the health system and housing and everything else, just the hills that the backbenchers are prepared to die on. And this one is actually turf. Everything else that's happened, all the decisions that have been made are okay. But the proposal to ban turf, which, as I say, is hugely important, I just think that this is the one that they would be prepared to collapse the government on. Well, in an extraordinary series of private meetings yesterday, the Environment Minister came under sustained attack from Fine Gael's TDs, some of whom shouted him down as well as heckled him. At a separate meeting, he was told by Fianna Fáil TDs that his plan could bring down the coalition. Senior Fianna Fáil TD Barry Cowan said Mr Ryan was left in no doubt that the majority of the Fianna Fáil parliamentary party disagreed with his proposals on turf, and that a provision whereby rural communities of under 500 people could be exempt from the ban was not acceptable. Now, I was talking about this over the weekend as to how that might even work. How do you determine the size of a community, a rural community? Where does the boundary begin and end? Because it's not villages, it's not towns as such, it's areas with one-off housing perhaps. So how do you, I suppose you could use the you could use electoral boundaries or something, but anyway, it's a load of gobbledygook. Fine Gael TD and Deputy Government Whip Brendan Griffin told Mr Ryan that his insistence on pushing ahead with the plans was threatening the stability of the government amid indications some Fine Gael TDs and senators would not support the ban. The ongoing turf wars also spilled over into Cabinet yesterday. Education Minister Norma Fronley criticised government communications on the issue, while Rural Affairs Minister Heather Humphreys insisted that if the small turf cutter is left alone, there won't be an issue for the government. And sharp exchanges too between Mr Ryan and Fine Gael backbenchers. The meeting was abruptly ended when a Dáil vote was called. Okay, so there you have it. The turf wars rumble on, and it's kind of interesting in that Eamon Ryan has said what he said publicly, or in response to his intentions were read in response to a question in the Dáil. Leo Varadkar's leader, I haven't really heard Micheál Martin on this one, but that doesn't mean he hasn't spoken on it. I just haven't really heard him. And Leo Varadkar has said that the plans are frozen, stalled. And yet it hasn't actually really been formally discussed amongst the government parties yet. And here we are. The Irish Times this morning. Did you know that foreign nationals and people from non-white ethnic backgrounds are receiving significantly longer prison sentences than their white Irish peers for sexual offences and drug offences? This according to new research. How could this be? Why would this be? Well, the study published today reveals people with an ethnicity other than white were sentenced to 32 months longer in prison for sexual offences than those of white ethnicity. Now, we need to stop attributing these types of crimes to particular races. You see an awful lot of that now because, firstly, look what it's doing. We're seeing sentences being skewed. Secondly, people that probably should be locked up longer are getting out earlier just because of their skin colour. 81 months compared with 49 months. That's how much longer a non-white person is sentenced for the same crime. With controlled drug offences, those with an ethnicity other than white were sentenced to 14 months longer than those recorded as white, 38 months compared with 24. The Sometimes I'm Missing the Words report from the Irish Penal Reform Trust found foreign nationals were sentenced to an average of 32 months for controlled drugs offences compared with a sentence of 23 months for Irish nationals. On to the Irish Daily Mail now. This is an interesting story. You don't see this too often. Mary Lou McDonald is suing RTE. As I say, you don't see the politicians suing the media too often, certainly at national level. Sinn Féin leader Mary Lou McDonald has launched a High Court's action against RTE seeking damages for alleged defamation. Her move, which followed a similar case against the state broadcaster last year by her Sinn Féin colleague Donncha O'Leary, apparently prompted Taoiseach Micheál Martin to mutter "Don't sue me" in the Dáil yesterday. His remark followed a row with Ms MacDonald over the proposed ban of the sale of turf. Well, the Irish Daily Mail understands the alleged defamation concerns an interview in RTE's Morning Ireland in mid-February about the National Women's Council's protest outside Leinster House. The march was shrouded in controversy, as you might remember, because of the exclusion of government TDs. Well, while Sinn Féin sources said they did not know what the litigation was in relation to and had not asked, suggestions that it stemmed from this interview have not been contradicted. Now, I don't recall listening to that interview or what might have been said or not, but it was obviously of such concern that Mary Lou McDonald has opted to sue RTE. Awful scenes from Sligo yesterday. I mean, primarily, obviously, an awful loss of life, but I don't know, we seem to video everything now, and share it on social media, and I'm just thinking on the families of the victims of this awful tragedy, knowing that thousands of people around the northwest and beyond have seen the aftermath of such a tragedy. But anyway, and then the newspapers would say the RTE, not the RTE, but the Gardaí are asking you not to share these images, yet they themselves share stills from the same videos. But anyway, the really important but sad news is that a woman died yesterday when a runaway car mounted a footpath before ploughing through a shop window. The Ford apparently went out of control in Sligo town centre, hitting the older lady and another pedestrian. The deceased, in her early 70s, was pronounced dead at the scene, while the injured man was rushed to Sligo University Hospital, where he's said to be stable. The horrific incident occurred at around 4 p.m. at the busy Castle Street and Market Street junction. Any of you who've been down in Sligo will know where that is. Witnesses say they saw a car travelling down Market Street and, apparently out of control, mount the footpath before crashing through the plate glass window of a business premises. The two pedestrians were walking along Grattan Street when they were hit, and may she rest in peace. Right, okay. Now, if you like to go into Pennies for a few bits, you might find the price going up. The Star tells us that Pennies has warned that it will increase prices on its autumn and winter collection as costs go up for businesses around the world. A budget fashion chain Primark, which trades here as Pennies, will make selective rises in the range, having avoided most pressure from inflation until now because of global exchange rates falling in its favour. But AB Foods, which owns Primark and Twinings and is also a major sugar producer, said the US dollar is strengthening and inflation is soaring, which will force the change. Chief Exec George Weston said inflationary pressures are such that we are unable to offset them all with cost savings, and so Primark will implement selective price increases across some of the autumn-winter range. And if it goes up in Primark, it goes up in Pennies. And lastly, yes indeed, in the Mirror today, it is the Sun today, Frustrated investigators believe Madeleine McCann, prime suspect, is playing games with them after stonewalling German interrogators. Christian Bruckner, who's 45, has instead chosen to give details of his alleged alibi to a US TV documentary. Prosecutors will remain none the wiser until Madeleine McCann, prime suspect, is aired next Tuesday, the 15th anniversary of the 3-year-old Britain's abduction. A source close to the German case said it's very frustrating for the investigators. They feel Bruckner is playing games with them. So there'll be a lot of interest in that TV documentary too, of course. I don't know what I'll check to see when and where it's airing, because I think there'll be, as I say, quite a bit of interest in that. Okay, 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApps and text. And maybe you can answer this one. It's a good question. Greg, I've been invited to a friend's child's confirmation at the weekend. And the question they're asking, what is the appropriate amount to put in a card? How much do you put into a card for a confirmation? Now, I'm not sure if it's at your discretion or if it's like a wedding where there's almost, there's an entry fee for a wedding. There's a standard amount that people give for weddings, whether it's for the all day or the evening. Is it the same with communions and confirmations? What would be, I presume the question being, what would be the acceptable, probably lowest amount that you could give them without, and we can sort of say, you know what, they should be glad of anything, but they'll open the cards and maybe judge people on how much they give. So that's just the way we can be as humans. What is the standard respectable, is that the right word, amount to put into a confirmation card? Right, now we had some contact from some people who were attending the blood banks services, one particularly in Letterkenny. A listener, I'll read what they said to us and then we'll get their response. Greg, how are you? I was fine, thank you, when you messaged. Sorry to, they go on to say, I'm currently at the blood bank in the Radisson in Letterkenny. This was on Monday night for an appointment for 8:30. I arrived at 8:20. Now it's 10 p.m. I've still not been checked in with the nurse for iron checks, etc. Serious questions need to be asked of the service. They're crying out for blood, as you would hear, of course. Those who have gone to the effort of taking time to make appointments and arrangements to travel, etc., the service is nothing short of a shambles. Absolutely disgusted about it. Would appreciate if you could make some inquiries. And as we did. We got onto the Irish Blood Transfusion Service, and this was their response. There was an issue in getting the full complement of equipment and resources to Letterkenny last night, the 25th of April, so that's 2 nights ago, which regrettably resulted in significant delays for some of our donors who attended the donation clinic. They say, we rely on and are extremely grateful for the generosity of our donors and wish to apologise for the delays and any inconvenience it may have caused. We've taken some steps today that should ensure the clinics for the remainder of the week run more smoothly. So I think we all know that the IBTS are doing the best that they can and doing a fantastic and incredibly important job. And sometimes we may actually even, it's likely that we may be called on to use the blood that they gather. So they're saying it was a once-off. It sounds like it was a technical issue and it's been ironed out. So people for the rest of the week shouldn't be experiencing similar delays. So thank you to the listener for your contact and hopefully you're satisfied with that answer. Okay, let's take a short break so we can get on to chatting to our first guest of the morning.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Celebrate the long weekend with Top Oil and the year of free fuel. There's more than €55,000 in prizes to be won. Sign up for your chance to win at topoilwin.ie.
If you're starting a new business in 2022, call into BizPrint today and get sorted. Logo design, invoice books, business cards, and all your printing needs. Call BizPrint at Port Road, Letterkenny on 91777955 or visit bizprint.ie.
Is your water safe to drink? If your water tastes unpleasant or has a foul smell, it may be a sign that something is in your water. Brothers Tech Donegal provide a complete private well water treatment service using the best water treatment equipment to meet your needs. Or maybe you drilled a new well and the water isn't satisfactory. At Brothers Tech, their expert team will also service existing problematic systems. If you're concerned about the quality of your water, call Brothers Tech on 087 638 7057.
The award-winning Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Udor offers the most advanced skincare treatments for men and women, treating conditions such as acne, skin tags, rosacea and scarring. As a qualified aesthetics practitioner, Mary Ferry offers a range of anti-aging treatments including dermal fillers, thread lifts, profilo, skin boosters, microneedling and LED light therapy. Hair and makeup also available. Download the Genesis Salon app today or call 07495 32575.
Sport. It's at the heart of every community, and so is Special Olympics. Every day, volunteers help people with an intellectual disability to experience joy through sport. The Special Olympics Annual Collection Day takes place on Friday 29th of April. Please give what you can to our bucket collectors on Friday 29th of April or donate through your Revolut app. Thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. We say good morning now to Julia Hearn, Head of Legal Policy and Services at the Children's Rights Alliance. Good morning to you, Julie.
Good morning.
Great to have you on the programme. How are you today?
Not too bad. Thank you for having me.
Right, that's good. It's good to have you with us. Right, now, a new report by the Children's Rights Alliance is calling for the voting age to be reduced to 16. And we'll tease out why, because I think this is speaking to young people, which it's important to. But I feel like we're having this conversation for forever and not making any progress. Have you worked out where the resistance really is coming from? Is it maybe parties fear that a younger demographic might vote in a different way and it'd be like turkeys voting for Christmas? Or why is there such resistance to this, even really to have the conversation, I think, in a really meaningful way, Julie?
I mean, looking at our report, might help to explain first where the recommendation came from and then to talk about maybe the resistance. I think it all feeds into the one thing. But the report was a youth-led piece of research conducted by the School of Education, UCD, commissioned by ourselves with a group of young people. And really what they looked at was what are the knowledge of their rights, what are the barriers, and what needs to happen in order to ensure their rights. And really interestingly, while there was a number of recommendations around, education, and, we can get into some of those if you want a little bit later, one of the really big things that came out of the report is that children have a really good knowledge of their rights, and what they want is action. They want to have some way in which they can have a seat at the table and influence decisions. And I think, when it comes to what is the resistance towards the vote at 16, which was one of their key recommendations, one of a few around having that seat at the table, about having a voice, I think it's to do with, we need to trust young people. And I wonder, is there a level of mistrust about what they think the motivations of young people are? But what the research showed is that young people have an incredible sense of social justice. They have an incredible sense of what needs to be done, and they're experts in their lives. And I think, there's a little bit of people are resistant of the change. They're resistant, it's been 18 for so long. They're resistant to something new, and they're keen to get it right if they do change it. So that's why the discussion is really welcome.
Do you think if young people were to vote that, the outcomes would be reflective of a broader society? Because, at the moment, there's huge apathy, really, and that's reflected in local and national elections. 45% of people can even be bothered voting. So I would imagine 16, 17-year-olds could be very motivated to vote. They could probably have a turnout up in the 85, 90%. Who is to say, if they organise themselves in the right way, is there a fear then that could leave us living in a country that's not really reflective of a broader society, but we might find very young people, pushing the agenda and moving too fast?
Well, I think there's a couple of things in that. So the first thing to say is that Scotland have reduced the voting age. And actually, when they reduced the voting age for their independence referendum, the turnout was huge among children and young people. It was over 70%. And because of that, they have reduced the voting age in terms of their other elections. But I think the argument that you would deny children a voice in what goes on because other people have an apathy towards voting and don't get out and vote, when young people want to vote, is actually a bit ridiculous. I mean, the fact that we're saying you can't vote because other people won't get out and vote is actually really unfair. And I think what we've seen is that young people aren't afraid to have the difficult discussions. They are leading talks on climate change. They are leading the discussion on some of the really challenging issues that we as older people haven't been able to grapple with, have kind of shied away from because it's hard, it's difficult, and they have pushed the agenda. And I think, if that is a fear of people, well, then they need to look at how they motivate other people to get out and vote. But if you get people interested, and international research shows, interested in civic engagement, interested in politics, interested in social affairs, this will have a huge effect for Ireland in the coming generations, because these young people will continue to vote. And the reality is they have a lot to say.
Do you think it would be wise or advisable? And I want to asking questions. I don't want it to sound like I'm being negative towards the proposals. All people this age, I have a huge respect for them. But you talked about their awareness of all the issues and what's going on. Do you think as part of this it would be important that, from an earlier age, that we make younger people more aware, so that we can ensure that they aren't just voting the way mum or dad tells them, or what might be cool in inverted commas? And as I say, I hope I'm not doing them a disservice, but that we can be confident they are. I mean, it's a great privilege to vote. I think that we make sure that they have a good set of information there as to what way to vote.
Definitely. And I do think it's right to have these discussions and to air these issues, because that's how we can tease them out. And I think that is something that the young people who conducted our research did recommend, that younger children's no good starting education about rights and civic issues in first year of school. You need to be doing it younger. It needs to be threaded through the full curriculum, because it has huge impact for children and young people. But also, as you mentioned, turnout is really low in elections at the moment. And if we can engage children earlier, and they're more likely to vote and continue to vote, that is only going to help democracy and society. And I think if you look at, the Corlin and Oaks and the Dáil and Oaks, which are the structures set up by the government to hear the voice of children and young people, they really do take the privilege of being able to discuss these issues really seriously. They engage with them in such a critical way. And what comes out of that are really key recommendations. So I think, we have to have earlier education. We have to trust our young people. We can't say that because other people don't use their vote, or because other people maybe don't use their vote in the way that is the most appropriate, we can't deny them a voice on that basis. We need to give them some empowerment in the issues.
Yeah, I mean, one of the easiest examples of an issue that almost uniquely addressed young people was as it relates to how we run our exams through the pandemic. There was some engagement with young people. It was they that this directly affected, really. But in the end, I think some of the engagement with the young people was just almost like patting them on the top of the head. I think we're so far away. If we, on a key issue that faces them, that we're not really, truly engaging with them. If we're not doing that we're a long way away from sort of giving them a vote to help decide the future of the whole country. I think that was kind of like an example or a snapshot of where we're actually at and what we think of the views of 15, 16, 17 and 18-year-olds.
Yeah, and I mean, that came up at the launch of our report yesterday, that, young people are consulted a lot. And to give credit to the government departments, the Department of Children are actually very good at giving young people a voice and giving them the opportunity to influence change. But governmental issues, it's a little bit more challenging. And I think what we really need to see is government take young people and their experience seriously. They are the experts in their own lives. They know what the issues are, and they can critically engage in the issues. And when you bring them in, you get better decision making. And that is something that I think we really need to think about. And it's worth mentioning as well that the Programme for Government did commit to looking at this, and looking particularly at the Scottish experience. And the Citizens' Assembly in 2018, overwhelmingly, I think it was over 80%, voted for lowering the voting age. So now is really the time to look at these experiences in other countries, look at the issues that are coming up, have the discussions, and really consider grappling with it. Because we could start it with local elections, European elections, see how it goes. That can be done by legislation, and see what that issue is. Can you imagine what it'd be like to see the local councillors actually engaging with children and young people about the issues in their local area? What changes could be brought in?
Right. So I think possibly, and again, I don't want to do any disservice, like when I was 16 or 17, I was really wet behind the ears. I was a real child, if you know what I'm on about. There's probably still lots of young people out there like that. I think those that might engage with research like this are going to be those that, maybe they come from political families themselves, maybe they're involved in the student council, maybe that's the way they are. and they're not representative of all 16 and 17-year-olds. And the roundabout way of getting to where I'm saying is should we not just let them be 16 and 17? You know, like, obviously there are some that will want to get involved and what have you, but I'm just reading here that the most difficult age for a child or for a parent to raise a child is 15. That's just a by-the-by survey that's out there because of all the pressures that's already on them. Now we're going to put pressure on them. They're going to be lobbied and says it's your future, make a decision. Heaping more pressure on 16 and 17-year-olds. Should we not just let them be kids?
I mean, if you think about, though, I think what's really interesting is that if you look at it, the young people who get involved in these issues or who are supported by either the education system, the youth work system, they feel that actually this is a way for them to let go of some of those pressures, because the issues that they're seeing themselves, they then realize are being faced by other young people, and that there's something they can do. And I think it's like for all of us, if there's something you can do about the problems you see on a daily basis, and if you can channel that, that can be really beneficial. But I think as well, you know, this is about looking to empower young people and to say, you know, and I mean, I myself, when I was 16, you know, would I have been, I mean, I was personally, you know, very engaged, but would I have been able to make a good decision? Who knows? But at the end of the day, young people now are more educated than ever. Our research showed that they have an incredible baseline knowledge of what the issues are, what their rights are, and that they're more engaged than ever in all these issues, and they're more looking to people to actually take them seriously. And I think we're doing them a disservice by saying that we need to let them be kids, because part of being a kid and part of being a young adult is being given the chance to have your say, to be given a chance to grow into that adult.
Oh, it is. But there's other ways
if you wish.
Yes, of course. And there are other ways to do that, like proper engagement around issues like how we conduct our exams. You know, a proper engagement with a forum that sort of, you know, has I just have this sense of 16 and 17-year-olds being lobbied hard by, you know, political bigwigs saying, right, you know, there we are. That's a... You know, and the those who are disengaged from it, those who just want to sort of worry about TikTok or what have you, being bombarded on the likes of TikTok with political messaging, every which way they turn, you know, being made feel guilty for not having a vote, have your say, it's your future. You know, and I just, you know, I mean, I just think it would be just a seismic change to being a 16 and 17-year-old. That's all. I just have my concerns about that. I just think we could maybe achieve everything that you talk of. And I've advocated really strongly, by the way, on behalf of people of this age. I just think maybe if we had a meaningful way where they knew they were being listened to and they could see their views being put into action, that maybe we could just give them that 2 years and let them worry about all the adult crap we have to worry about when they turn 18.
Yeah, but I mean, I think what you're saying is actually relevant for all of society. There are plenty of people who actually it's a big added stress for them to engage in politics, and they don't, and that's okay. That's their prerogative. But I think, you know, if you look at what the young people from our research saying and bringing it back to that, they were so clear that they are consulted.
Well, go through that, because that is important, because I'm speaking about, like, you know, let them be children, but you've already spoken to these people, or many of them, and they've said what worries them. So I don't want to, I want to make sure that we speak about that before we finish up. So what came from the conversation?
Yeah, and I think one of the things I suppose that did worry them is that they are consulted. They do feel that they are, you know, asked their opinion, but they don't have any real say, and that actually it comes to a certain point, and like you said, the pat on the head piece, or thank you for your opinion, now we're doing this, and they're not at the table. So that is one of the reasons why the vote at 16 was one of the things they suggested. They made some really key recommendations around making sure that there are spaces for children and young people, particularly those most marginalised, to engage in different issues and to be part of society. So they looked, for example, at adequate facilities for children with disabilities, being able to access services as being one of the key issues for them as children and young people. And then specifically, they looked at children's rights education and how they want more. They want it to be more in depth. They feel they know the basics, and that what they need now is information about remedies, where they can go if something goes wrong. They think people who work with them need to be better educated, actually, because sometimes they feel they know more than the adults, and that they need to be better educated to bring them along, to bring them to that next level of the information. So there was a lot coming out of the report. And I think, you know, if we think about it in the sense that children and young people now are more engaged, more empowered, the education system is engaging with them more, the fact that they actually want to make a difference and have a say is something that's a very natural progression as we move on in society. And it's great to have these open conversations discussing the issues.
Listen, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. There are full reports available for people to have a look at, I presume, is it?
It is indeed. It's on the Children's Rights website, childrensrights.ie.
Okay, thank you again for your
Thank
time.
you.
Very much appreciated. That was Julia Hearn, Head of Legal Policy and Services at the Children's Rights Alliance. So that's the starter. What do you think? 08660 25,000, 08660 25,000. Do you believe that children of 16 and 17 should be allowed to vote? Or do you believe not? What do you think? DJ says, good morning. Most 16-year-olds can't find their shoes and have no life experience at all. Computer games isn't real life. 18 is just fine. If anything, it should be 21 common sense that woman needs. Well, she has common sense. I mean, I think we can respect her opinion without questioning her sense. Can we not? For crying out loud. She's got plenty of common sense, but that's her view, that's her opinion, and yours is an opposing opinion. You know, play the ball, not the person, would be my suggestion. We're not going to get anywhere attacking each other. But then again, I have my concerns, as I was teasing out there with Julie, but I really want to know what you guys think. 07491 25,000, that's the number to call, or give us a text or WhatsApp, as I mentioned, 08660 25,000.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Are you thinking of making the switch to electric? Come visit us in iMotors, Donegal's SEAI EV Dealer of the Year 2022. We will answer any questions and help you make the switch. With our award-winning lineup of Kia EVs available now, come visit us at iMotors in Letterkenny and Malin.
Looking for a loan from a lender who cares? No matter how long it has been. At all Inishowen Credit Union branches, we welcome all members back to chat about our large range of loans for cars, holidays, home improvements and more. Have you had your credit reunion? Membership of Inishowen Credit Union is open to everyone who lives or works in the Inishowen Peninsula. For more details, log on to inishowencu.ie or call us on 074 936117. Loans are subject to approval, terms and conditions apply. Inishowen Credit Union is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
If you'd like to save on your home printing costs, switch to a cartridge-free printer. Raymond Sweeney here from Ben Sweeney Euronics to let you know that Epson EcoTank printers can save you up to 90% on the cost of ink. They're different to most printers because they use an ink tank that's easily filled with a bottle instead of using cartridges. Save money and time with an Epson EcoTank printer at Ben Sweeney Euronics Port Road, Letterkenny and the shopping centre, Dunlow.
Ben Sweeney Euronics. We deliver, we install, we care.
Ireland is leaving diesel behind, and Kelly's Toyota is leading the way with our incredible range of self-charging hybrid electric cars. We've amazing offers, including contributions and trade-in boosters. And with 46 years of experience here in Donegal, you can trust us to help you on your electric journey. You'll never take a wrong turn with Toyota, Ireland's best-selling car brand. Visit Kelly's Toyota Mount Charles or Letterkenny today. Toyota, built for a better world. Terms and conditions apply.
Right, now, Gardaí have identified 356 suspected victims of human trafficking in Ireland between 2015 and 2020. A new report by the ESRI and the European Migration Network has found the majority were female and were trafficked for sexual exploitation. Emily Conniff is Policy Officer with the ESRI. Emily, thanks for your time this morning. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Right, okay. So, I mean, this is... It's awful to think that people are having to live their lives like this, isn't it?
Yes, indeed.
As victims in this way is what I mean. Sorry, Emily, if it's not clear.
Pardon?
I mean, as victims in this, as victims of this type of trafficking, it's horrible that people that's their life.
Exactly. And we review the current procedures in place in Ireland in order to identify these victims of human trafficking and to provide adequate support once they are identified. And what we find, so we look at how Ireland detects victims of human trafficking, how they identify them, and then how they provide measures such as accommodation, access to social welfare, among other measures. And what we find in terms of detection is that there's quite a broad set of measures that are used, and training is carried out with a number of different agencies, including An Garda Síochána, but further training was raised as a key concern by NGOs in particular. And then there's also further challenges in terms of identification of victims of human trafficking, and then in terms of the supports that are provided.
Do we do enough, I wonder, in determining whether someone or not is a victim of trafficking? Because you often read in the newspapers articles, say, for instance, a woman who's found to be a sex worker, they're not sent to prison or what have you, but they're, they say, well, I'm going back to my native country or something. And I wonder, should we, rather than saying, okay, that's an acceptable response to the charge, are we exploring enough whether or not they are victims and they're just going to be victims somewhere else?
Right. So the current identification procedure in Ireland is only conducted by the police, by An Garda Síochána, and they're the only authority that can recognise somebody as a victim of human trafficking. So that individual may not want to report to the police that they have experienced human trafficking for a variety of reasons. Some may fear their immigration status. Some may, have fears of the police from their home countries. So that can be a limitation in terms of the number of people who are identified. So that's the current situation. In new reforms proposed by the government in May 2021, there is a proposal to bring in more stakeholders who would be competent to identify. So not only An Garda Síochána, but other agencies such as TUSLA and social welfare.
Yeah, and if we would need to put a series of things in place, really, wouldn't we? If someone would feel comfortable saying to the Gardaí, often outside their own country, in a country that they don't know the ins and outs of perhaps necessarily, in terms of what happens to them next, what level of protection is there? What, even if they sort of were to identify people they believe to be responsible for trafficking them, like there's a whole suite of things I presume would have to be put in place so they would feel confident in that process.
Exactly. At the moment, so once a person is identified by An Garda Síochána, they're offered a 60-day recovery and reflection period. And that's a period in which they can reflect on what has happened and decide whether or not they want to cooperate in a criminal investigation. So they have those 60 days. They can also waive that if they want to. And they're offered accommodation in international protection accommodation services, so primarily direct provision. And that's where they reside for those 60 days. It can extend for longer if necessary. And they're also offered a number of different support measures once they have been identified as a victim of human trafficking. And people we interviewed, various NGOs and international organisations, said that these were crucial in terms of ensuring that victims are comfortable in cooperating with this procedure in the investigation. And they must be informed of their various rights that they have.
And obviously, I imagine, when people are displaced or for example, in Ukraine, there can be a fear that this could actually lead to an increased risk of human trafficking. With that in mind, can you explain, Emily, not that there might be a typical example, but how does, more often than not, a woman become a victim of human trafficking?
Right. Well, first of all, not all victims of trafficking are women. And they're certainly not all trafficked for the purpose of exploitation, of sexual exploitation. It can be also labour exploitation and a number of different areas, such as working in the fishing industry or in cannabis cultivation, which have been recent cases in recent years in Ireland. But generally, somebody would become vulnerable, and this was identified by NGOs, vulnerable to being trafficked when they're not aware of the procedures that are in place and don't have, mechanisms to contact people who would be able to help them. It's also important, and we look at this in our report, to have detection measures in place. So in Ireland, if somebody applies for asylum, there is a vulnerability assessment which would determine whether or not someone is a victim of human trafficking and then refer them on to be identified. But there could be further screening in migration procedures. This was also raised by NGOs. So somebody coming through on a visa or other schemes should be screened for human trafficking indicators. And a lot of training is being conducted, including by NGOs, in social work, hospitality, and in immigration services. But they did identify that more needs to be done in order for victims to be detected in Ireland.
And people might say, well, if they're being asked to do something that they don't want to do, why don't they just flee? But often part of the coercion here is they might not have access to their passport, for example.
Exactly, and the definition of trafficking is that somebody's being coerced and forced to act in a certain way, and there can be a variety of reasons that somebody is unable or unwilling to come forward. First of all, that they may not be aware of the procedure that's in place. They may also face threats. And sometimes you see that somebody may have been smuggled into Ireland, which is not a situation of human trafficking, but then that can also evolve into a situation of human trafficking. And it's not easy for victims to come forward.
Okay, so what do we need to be doing as soon as we can, Emily, do you believe?
Well, at the moment, so our report presents what's happening at the moment, and the government, as I mentioned, has a new proposal to reform the national referral mechanism. So that would allow more bodies beyond An Garda Síochána to identify victims, and NGOs would also be involved as trusted partners. Another key concern raised by NGOs was the accommodation provided. Some of them said that direct provision in similar centres are not sufficient to provide the correct supports for victims. So in the government's white paper from February of last year, there is a proposal to develop a specialised accommodation for victims. So that has yet to be seen. It hasn't been secured as yet. But those are two of the two new developments in that regard. Okay,
Emily, listen, thanks for your time this morning. I appreciate it greatly.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Emily Caniff there, who is Policy Officer with the RSRI. Some of your comments here. If they are going to vote at 16, would they not need to get into a nightclub as well, as it's still 18? Yeah, I suppose. Maybe that's something that they would vote on. They would put pressure on government and say, we'll vote for you, on parties, we'll vote for you if you open up the nightclubs at 16. That being said, I'm not sure how many teenagers even want to go to nightclubs anymore. That being said also, some of them are absolutely wedged, but I think as you get older, and not much older, and the notion goes off you. Hi, Greg. Was watching Euronews last night on TV, seeing that Spain and Portugal have halved the electricity bill for their entire populations. This is what our government should be doing for us. My question is, why haven't they? Thank you. We'll look a little bit more into what's been done in Portugal and Spain, see if it could work here. Greg, I've been stuck in traffic for over 5 minutes now, and there's an ambulance stuck too with its lights on. It's been here for longer than I have. There is nowhere for it to go. There should be a lane in place for ambulances to get to the hospital. Well, Caroline, this is something we might follow up on as it relates to what is the traffic management plan for emergency service vehicles, because my understanding is there has to be a plan in place for that. If we're talking about the 4 lanes coming into Letterkenny, a lot of ambulance traffic, fire brigades, what have you, on that route. According to listeners, they're being held up in traffic. That can't happen, can it? We're going to check in with the council to see what the situation is in relation to that. Just saying, Gardaí Macleigh's corner alone on Sunday directing traffic. Not one in the whole of Letterkenny yesterday evening. Chaos, 2 hours from Arena 7 to the Clanry yesterday evening from 5 to 7. Unbelievable. That is some delay. Hi, Greg. The quicker the Irish people wake up to this government and get them wiped out, the better. They are a disaster. It was the same, Greg, with the COVID rules. They were another joke. Thank you, they say. Right, okay. We were asked a question as it relates to how much do you put in a confirmation card. 30 to 50 euro for confirmation is a good amount. Okay, that's a lot of money. But as I said, I didn't know what the standard might be, but 30 to 50 euro is what this listener says is a good amount. I'd be going 30 on that. I'm not going to lie to you. Another caller says, yes, we had the same problem. Was the worst ever giving blood. That was the delays on Monday. Have those delays eased on Tuesday evening? I wonder. Let us know. Greg, we'll come back to the one. Just come back to that one in a moment, because we do have to take another quick break, and we're going to be talking about a delegation of fishing industry reps. They're going to Brussels to discuss the pressing issues concerning fishing activities in Killybegs. We'll be interested to hear what might be up for discussion there.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us what. The Lotto jackpot is an estimated €7 million. Play responsibly in store, in app, or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
At Hickey, Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Don't sleep in and miss the very latest beds and mattress offers from dfibeds.ie, Ireland's leading online bed and mattress retailer. You'll get a comfy Irish-made mattress, upholstered base and headboard from an amazing €229. Check out the full range at dfibeds.ie. Delivery free and guaranteed to you within 7 working days. DFI Beds. Sleep well, live well.
There was a monster who lived in the trees, in the house that would rattle and shake in the breeze. It was cold and small, with a terrible leak that would drip on her head and her hands and her beak. She needed it fixed and all in one batch, because she had an egg that was ready to hatch. So she went to the credit union for a renovation loan and got new windows, insulation, and extended her home. Monster loans from the credit union. Imagine more. Loans are subject to approval. Terms and conditions apply. If you do not meet the repayments on your loan, your account will go into arrears. This may affect your credit rating, which may limit your ability to access credit in the future. Credit unions in the Republic of Ireland are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Thinking of a sun holiday with the family? You can now fly to Barcelona 3 times weekly this summer with Ryanair and enjoy some of Europe's best family campsites. Ireland West Airport. You're flying.
Okay, so sunny spells today with temperatures of 12 to 14 degrees in light easterly breezes. Doesn't sound too bad, does it? Fine Gael MEP Colin Markey is this week facilitating a visit to Brussels by reps of the Irish fishing industry to discuss a number of pressing issues concerning fishing activities in Killybegs. That MEP, Colin Markey, joins us on the programme now. Colin, thanks for taking your time to talk to us today.
Thanks, Greg.
Right. As you see it, what are the pressing issues that need discussing?
Well, I suppose there's a number of issues there, particularly, I suppose, in relation to the whole scenario about the derogation, the whale factory in Killybegs. Killybegs is a unique situation in ports across Europe in that in most parts of Europe, the fish factories actually are on the pier side. And in Killybegs, however, they're a distance away from the pier. So the whole question as regards the regulatory process as to how the fish can be weighed. And this has caused a lot of controversy over the last number of years. And I suppose there was a derogation in place. The derogation was removed. And now it was put back in January on the basis of a lot of control measures that were put in place. However, those changes made again in March. And I think that's leading... Look, on one side, you have the control authority who wants to ensure that the fish are weighed correctly. On the other side, you have the fishermen who don't want the value of their fish impacted by a concern around having to weigh the fish out of water, and this damages the quality of the fish. So I suppose you have two scenarios that aren't meeting, and we're trying to get a solution that allows the fish be weighed in water, and if possible, at the factories.
Is the problem not really, though, our interpretation and implementation of the EU rules? Look, it's always good to go to Brussels and let them hear what's going on, and there's plenty to discuss. But really, is it not how we are interpreting and implementing the rules in the likes of Killybegs that's causing the problems? I.e., Brussels will say that's an internal matter.
Well, I think the clarity has to be worked out as to whether it is literally an interpretation of the rules at Irish level, or whether the EU as a whole are not happy with the situation that's at play. And I think that's what we want to get to the bottom of. So if we can have the conversation here at European level to clarify what exactly is required and needed, and therefore then we can determine more clearly whether the issue falls at European level or at Irish level.
Right. So, in other words, if we get some clarification in that regard, it could have sent. I can't remember what is the I can't remember I can't remember the fish police.
Sea Fisheries Protection
Yeah,
Agency.
see, I can't. I've been talking about it for years. I just couldn't get it out of my mouth. Yeah, we don't know. So this could actually seek some clarity that could work very much in our favour, so that it could put the pressure on the likes of the Sea Fish Protection Authority to maybe adopt a different approach.
Well, I think the whole thing here is to build confidence at European level and build confidence at Irish level that there is not anything irregular happening here, and that people are doing their best to make sure that the system is being worked in the best possible way. And at European level, we want to be able to demonstrate that the fishermen are serious about doing the job correctly and get confidence at that level. And equally, to start a conversation or rebuild a conversation with the SFPA, because clearly the situation isn't working at the moment. There's a lot of frustration on all sides, and we need to basically try and get to the bottom of that. And the question is, as you rightly put it, is the issue at European level or is the issue at national level? And that's what we're seeking to clarify this week in Brussels.
Is this a platform or forum for talking about the wider issue of fishing? In other words, better access to our own stocks effectively. Other measures that are in place that see our boats tied up, people exiting the industry, a whole generation lost. In other words, that link to the fishing industry being broken that potentially could, see it legislated out of business. Is this a forum, a platform that those issues can be teased out in as well?
But certainly there are other issues we want to deal with as well. Like the common fisheries policy is up for review in the next 18 months or so. And equally, the impact of Brexit and the loss of fish quotas and I suppose the use of bar, well, that's obviously a national issue. But these are key issues that we want to also address when the guys are over as well. So certainly there is a concern, if you like. This is just another one of the issues that the fishing industry is facing. And the fishing industry is an enormously valuable industry to Ireland as a whole, but particularly to Donegal and Killybegs area. And it's vital that we ensure it has every opportunity because it has.
Well, it's vital too. I think it's vital that we, as a the Irish government effectively recognise that. We know that the population of southwest Donegal and beyond know that, but I think those within the industry might feel that this government don't get that.
Well, in fairness to Fine Gael, we had a meeting with a number of the representatives there about 2 weeks ago, and with a large number of the parliamentary party attended it. And we went through a lot of issues, and we're certainly very serious about focusing on what the concerns of the industry are. Obviously, they have to be managed in a way that wins confidence on all sides in terms of the EU and the regulatory end of it as well. But in a lot of ways, we're concerned that the fishing industry are being misrepresented in terms of that they are serious about trying to do the thing correctly, and there's an undermining of confidence in relation to the work that's been done. And I think everyone put their best effort forward to get the control pan back in place, but invested in the like of CCTV and other monitoring equipment. The weighing system that was put on the pier was invested in by the industry, and there is deep frustration that all these efforts have been made to prove that there's nothing irregular going on at this time is vital.
Well, that's one of the problems in that they want the fish to be weighed in machinery that's not owned by the industry.
Yeah, but if you consider in any context, in any industry, weighing systems are owned and operated but regulated by the Weights and Measures Authority in the relevant country. And why can that not apply in this situation as well? So the ownership, it shouldn't necessarily, or there's no requirement even within the legislation at European level that the ownership should be independent of the operation.
All right, stay where you are if you don't mind. I want to bring Sean Doherty into the conversation here. Hi, Sean.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. You're still a fisherman?
Well, we're doing our best to try and hang on.
Hanging in there, yeah. Right,
yeah,
tell us your story, Sean.
Well, my story, my ancestors would have come to Waterford from the Inishowen Inch Island area of Donegal 5 generations ago. And we've been fishing and involved in going to sea and all that ever since. But this generation will definitely be the last. And it's something that I would never have wanted to be the last of a line. And I find it as our fishing communities, I won't say are dying, they're being killed off. History is actually kind of repeating itself. Is Donegal going to be the last bastion of fishing in Ireland? It was the last bastion of the old Gaelic system. And, we have had terrible tragedies in recent years that have been attributed to fisheries policies. And even that didn't faze our politicians.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it happened in the agricultural sphere, there would be outrage, and ministers would probably have to resign. And when you deal with the Department of Agriculture, they're very friendly people. You can make a mistake, and they'll help you get it sorted. But when you're dealing with the fisheries, the Department of Fisheries, the SFPA or Inland Fisheries Ireland, they're very much working on a different agenda. The fisherman is up to something. You must be up to no good. So it's resulting in, like as you said, like it's not only a lost generation; it's a lost culture. A lot of people have fished like small scale for generations, and a lot of the most modern vessels in Donegal, in Castletown, in Galway.
Yeah.
People came from them boats. They came from humble beginnings.
Yes.
And through hard work and luck, they built themselves up.
Yeah, and Sean, unfortunately, I've lost track of time. It's nearly 10. We're going to have to talk to you again. But like I said earlier in the programme, we have Fine Gael backbenchers saying that the turf burning issue could be that issue that collapses the government. We've heard no such word as it relates to the protection of the fishing industry. And as I say, sometimes I just find it curious as to what makes an issue the issue, the hill that people are prepared to fall on. But anyway, Sean, listen, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
All right, sorry, I wish I had more time. And also, Colin, thank you very much for joining us. As I said, I didn't realise the time. We've went over 10 o'clock, but I appreciate it, and good luck with these meetings.
Thank you, Grant.
Okay, have a good day. Take care of yourself. Right. Okay, apologies. As I say, it's after 10:01. We'll be back with more on the 9 till noon show after the news with Michaela.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Taoiseach Micheál Martin has told the Dáil he believes health services in border areas should be organised on a regional basis and that Donegal patients should be looking towards Altnagalvin Hospital in Derry rather than Galway. He said joint initiatives such as the Northwest Cancer Centre have been very successful and the challenge will be to build up trust with those unionists who are suspicious of such cooperation. There was a short exchange with Sinn Féin leader Mary Lou McDonald, who suggested the penny had finally dropped. Micheál Martin said he has been committed to cross-border health since he was the minister in charge.
When I was in Altnagalvin, I met an individual who travelled from Donegal. He suffered a heart attack, had the stents provided very quickly in Altnagalvin, and was out the following day. In our configuration, we're saying people in the northwest should head to Galway as a major tertiary hospital. And I think in the fullness of time along the border, we really should look at it regionally in terms of a cross-border practical way. There's no need to be so catty or so cynical about it.
Saying that's the penny dropping.
No, it's not dropping. Genius. I've been involved since I was Minister for Health.
The Donegal deputy has described the lack of infrastructure in the northwest as a mortal sin. Deputy Padraig McLaughlin believes due to the absence of a real network and continued delays with the A5 road project that the Irish government should reinstate financial support for the City of Derry Airport. The government had previously funded the airport, but funding was withdrawn a decade ago. Deputy McLaughlin in the Dáil said equal access to the entire country for the people of the Northwest is essential.
You can see how crucial this is, and we've let this go now for 10 years, so appeal to you, Minister. And you know about geography representing a county like Galway. Like, we need to get access into Derry, North Donegal, equality of access for our people with the rest of the country.
In response, Minister of State at the Department of Transport Hildegard Naughton committed to work with the Taoiseach in reviewing the viability of air routes between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. People in Inch are without water today again. A burst water main is affecting homes and businesses in the Inch Island and Maharabeg areas, which has been subject to ongoing bursts. It was hoped that a resolution was on the way, with Irish Water committing to carry out replacement works this week. However, the works have been delayed by a month. Cahirlock of Donegal County Council, Councillor Jack Murray, says it's totally unacceptable that people are forced to continuously live with supply disruptions.
People are seriously affected by this. Like, you're talking about there's children getting up for school, elderly people, sick people, and delayed by months. So people, I don't think people will accept it. They begin to lose faith in the entire process. It's been promised much, and yet again, and there's more delays, and yet again they're without water. Like, these people are at the end of the tether, and admittedly so. I just can't see any justifiable explanation for the ongoing delays. I can't see why anywhere else should be prioritised above the people of this area.
A burst water main is also causing supply disruptions in Ramelton and surrounding areas. Irish Water say works are scheduled to be complete by 1 o'clock this afternoon. An exodus of landlords from the private rental market is causing rents to surge, according to a housing expert. New figures from the Residential Tenancies Board show rent nationally was up 9% in the final quarter of last year. The highest rates were found in Dublin, where the average tenants paid €2,000, while in Donegal rents increased 16.6% to just over €760, the second lowest figure in the country. Assistant Professor of Social Policy at Maynooth University, Rory Hearn, says landlords leaving the market is making matters worse for renters.
What's driving landlords out of the market is the massive increase in property prices over the last 10 years. Landlords are essentially cashing in on their investment asset. That's what's happening. Or what is happening is that they're actually evicting tenants and then converting the rental property into Airbnb.
Police say they are becoming increasingly concerned for a missing person who was last seen in the Port Rush area on Saturday last. It's believed Cleona Mulvena travelled to Derry. Anyone with information regarding her whereabouts is asked to contact police. With a nice sunny spells today, with highest temperatures of 12 to 14 degrees and light easterly breezes. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning. The obituary notices for this Wednesday morning, April the 27th. The death has occurred of Charlie Harper, Dunwiley, Stranorlar, Donegal. Charlie's remains are reposing at his home. Removal from there tomorrow morning at 10:30 via Chapel Street for Mass of the Resurrection in the Church of Mary Immaculate, Stranorlar at 11 o'clock. Burial afterwards in Stranorlar Cemetery, Chapel Street, Stranorlar. Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish webcam. Family flowers only, donations in lieu if so desired, to the Respiratory Ward, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of Marshall McGuyan at McGuyan's Funeral Home or any family member. The death has taken place of James Jim McKnight, Galdonna Manor, Cunningham. His remains are reposing at his late residence. Funeral service there this afternoon at 2 o'clock, with burial afterwards in the family plot in Newton Cunningham Presbyterian Church Graveyard. House private to family and close friends, please. Family flowers only, donations in lieu to the Ronald MacDonald House, Dublin, at care of any family member or Terence McClintock, funeral director. The death has occurred in London of Padraig McNulty, formerly from Cummain, Cloughan. His remains will repose at the home of his sister, Kate and Raymond McMenamin, in Cummain from 7 o'clock this evening. Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock on Friday morning in the Church of Our Lady of Perpetual Help, Glenfin, with interment afterwards in Kilty Vogue Cemetery. The Mass can be viewed on the parish webcam. Family, friends and neighbours welcome. Family time from 11 p.m. until 11 a.m. And the death has occurred of Daniel Dan Gallagher, Ballykerrigan, Cloughan. His remains are reposing at his late residence. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:15 for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock in the Church of Our Lady of Perpetual Succour, Glenfin, followed by interment in Glenfin Cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed live on mcnmedia.tv. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
All right, keep your text comments coming in to us. 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000, or call 074 91 25,000. More on the roadworks. By the way, for those of you outside Letterkenny or not travelling through it, you might be familiar with that 4-lane stretch of road between the Dry Arch roundabout out by the hotel there into the Polestar roundabout, which obviously is incredibly distinctive. It's being done up. It's going to take quite some time. At the moment, they're doing some resurfacing work. and it's causing traffic delays. And there is a couple of schools of thoughts out there that it's for a short term, this section of it. You can't make an omelette without breaking eggs. For others, it's so much of an inconvenience that something needs to be done. So those are the views and many in between and beyond either side of those. Hi Greg, the layout on the road to the Dry Arch is unreal. They have one lane from the Polestar to the Toyota garage, then 2 lanes until Apple Green, then 1 lane again. Drivers are trying to get in the 1 lane also. The speed is bad when it's 2 lanes, 3 workers standing diverting traffic down up from Crossant Business Park. Another caller says the roadwork should be stopped tomorrow to allow for bank holiday traffic. Friday will be a nightmare. Another lane closure on the 4-lane upgrades was only supposed to happen at night. I don't know what the story is there. That was my understanding. I don't know if there was some provision within the contract to allow daytime works or if that contract has been changed in some form or other. I'm not privy to that information. And more coming in all the while. Keep them coming in, as I mentioned. It's an integral part of the programme, as you'd be aware. It is time, though, to play bingo. Good luck if you are playing today.
It's time for Ncbi Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Wednesday, the 27th of April. You're playing on the blue sheet. The reference number is S3. It's game number 17. The numbers are 54, 23, 34, 57, 90, 44, 56, 76, 11, and finally 89. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
Left, right. For children of Ukraine, innocence is in the firing line. Your donation will give them food and first aid, water and warmth. Visit unicef.ie to have an immediate impact now.
Are you a landowner in the River Derg area? Do you want to find out who can provide agricultural services such as weed wiping, for rush control and riverside fencing? The Source to Tap project is holding a free agricultural contract fair near Caleator Castle Derg at St Davog's GAA Club, Ahiarn on Thursday the 28th of April from 11 to 4 p.m. Come along to meet local contractors and find out what services they can offer to help improve your farm business and make your farm water friendly. The Source to Tap project is supported by the European Union's Interreg 5A programme.
Do you suffer from heartburn or abdominal pain? Do you experience frequent constipation or diarrhea? If you need or are waiting for an endoscopy consultation, then why not come see us at Kingsbridge Private Hospital Sligo, where we provide excellence in private healthcare. We are approved by all private health insurers and our specialised consultants are ready to see you. Avoid long journeys and longer waiting lists. Visit kingsbridgeprivatehospital.ie for more information. Because life matters.
Ready, Steady, Grow Childcare Centre Ballabafay requires a deputy manager with level 7 or 8 childcare qualification, a full-time childcare assistant with level 5 or 6 qualification, a part-time childcare assistant and 2 child assistants to cover maternity leave. For further information, contact Paula on 0749 190 151 or send your CV to info@rsgchildcare.com.
Get the Irish Daily Star today for your free 12-page Punchestown Festival pullout with all the top tipsters in our stable ready to get you first past the post all week. The Irish Daily Star, number 1 for racing, number 1 for you.
As always, around 10:30, as close as we can to it. We'll play a piece of music. If you've any requests or dedications that you want included, get them into us now. WhatsApp or text to 08660 25,000. Maybe someone's celebrating a special day today, or a couple getting married, or whatever it might be, and we can get that played out for them. And if you want to suggest a piece of music too, feel free to do so. Again, 08660 25,000. That number also good for your comments, which leads us to the next one. My son came from Dublin on Bus Éireann on Thursday night. He said he was going to Donegal. The bus driver was foreign. I'm not sure what difference that makes. He was charged for 2 people. The driver didn't know how to refund him. He rang the office the next morning and the woman on the phone said that he couldn't prove that it was 1 travelling and not 2. Maybe you could help. Right, okay. Well, we got on to Bus Éireann, or we're trying Bus Éireann to try and get a response to you for that. Okay. Right, Pascal Hayes is Executive Chair of the Sea Fisheries Protection Authority. He joins us now. Pascal, I beg your pardon. Nice to speak to you and good morning.
Good morning to you too.
Do you feel the SFPA over recent weeks has been treated unfairly in all the controversy around Killybegs and elsewhere?
Well, I guess what I'd like to do is to give the SFPA side of the story.
Go ahead then.
Okay, well, the default position in relation to landing fish into any port in Ireland is that the product has to be weighed on landing prior to being transported to anywhere, and that is set out in an EU regulation. There is a provision that a member state can permit fishery products to be weighed after transport if a control plan is in place and agreed with the EU Commission. Ireland made an application for such a control plan at the back end of last year, and it was approved with effect from the 1st of January 2022 until actually the 30th of April, the end of this month. Under that control plan, 95% of the landings in bulk pelagic landings into Killybegs were weighed in the factories in the SFPA approved premises in Killybegs. But to enable that, 5% is subject to a full control inspection on landing on the pier side.
Mm-hmm. How do you determine what 5%?
So that's done on a risk basis, and that risk basis is set out in the control plan itself as well.
Could you explain that to the layperson a little bit more? What do you mean a risk process on a risk basis?
Yeah, well, it gets quite complicated, but each vessel, each port, it receives a risk rating, and if that vessel hails that it's going to land, then the officers locally will look at the risk attached to that vessel and decide whether it is to be inspected or not. But I think the more important thing here is that there is benchmarks set in relation to the level of inspections that have to be carried out by the SFPA.
I understand, but just back to that word risk then.
That benchmark is 5% of landings or 7.5% of the fish. In the event that those benchmarks aren't met, then the facility to weigh 95% of the fish in the factory is withdrawn. And the Commission will withdraw our control plan if we don't meet our benchmarks. And we will be back to weighing 100% of the fish on the pier side, as happened between April last year and December last year.
So the 5%, is that 5% of fish landed in Killybegs or landed in the country?
So it is 5% of, in the case of what you're talking about on your radio show, which is bulk pelagic landings, in the main they happen in Killybegs, but it is 5% at a national level of landings. But taking into account that most of those landings are in Killybegs, then most of the inspections will also be in Killybegs.
Okay. Now, when you talk about risk, what is the risk? You mean the risk that they may not be declaring accurately their catch? Is that what you mean by risk?
Well, there's always a risk that catch isn't accurately being declared. And certainly the control plan that we have in place, and obviously the control regulation that the Commission has in place, is there with a view to make sure that there is full compliance and that it reduces the risk and that it protects the fish in compliance with the common fisheries policy.
And are you satisfied that this is not an interpretation, that this is a diktat from Europe that can't be interpreted any other way?
So just to be clear, the regulation sets out that all landings have to be weighed on the pier side. If we don't put a control plan in place, that is the default position. We have a control plan that has to be agreed with the Commission. It has been agreed with the Commission. That control plan was proposed by Ireland and agreed with the Commission. That is something that would be done on a member state and Commission basis. The contents of that plan then have to be complied with. if we want to continue to weigh 95% of the fish in the factory. That control plan includes a provision that 5% of the landings and 7.5% of the total fish landed for bulk pelagic landings, and it actually names the species, will be subject to controlled weighing.
Mm-hmm.
So the arrangement is set out in the control plan, which is published on the SFPA website. If we don't meet the requirements of that plan, then we go back to the situation of weighing everything on the pier side.
Yep. Now, obviously, you have to understand.
I would add there, I mean, I've heard it being said that the pier side weighing machine can't be used. In fact, the pier side weighing machine is permitted for weighing at the moment. So a vessel landing for the 95% of the fish, if the SFPA doesn't look for a control landing, has an option of using the pier side weighing machine to weigh the fish, or bring it to their factory and weigh it on their own weighing devices, which are also permitted by the SFPA. So the pier side weighing machine is permitted and can be used.
Mm. Now, I'm not sure how busy Killybegs Harbour is, okay? But there must be an awful amount of fish landed that doesn't come under your scrutiny when we hear of the amount of vessels that have been boarded or have had to land elsewhere. If that's making up 5%, do you understand? As I say, apologies, I'm from outside the industry, but is there really that much fish being landed that the most recent activity from the SFPA represents less than 5%?
So just to be clear, all the fish that lands into Killybegs is under the SFPA.
Oh, I understand that. I think you know what I mean, though.
For all the landings, but I'm sure you've heard from the fishermen that the fishing happens in particular seasons, and it just so happens that the blue whiting season has been active over the last number of weeks. Is probably somewhat coming to an end at this stage, and this seems to have particularly become a problem in relation to the blue whiting rather than the other species that are covered under this control plan for bulk pelagic landings, which are herring, horse mackerel and mackerel.
Are you able to pick and choose between different fish as to can this 5%, in other words, is this 5% specific to each species of blue whiting or mackerel, or can it be spread across? Can it be spread across all landings, if that makes sense?
It does make sense, and it is specific to each species.
So you have to check 5% of blue whiting?
Yes.
But that must mean there's an awful lot of blue whiting being landed in Killybegs if all of these boats that have been subject to your focus, particularly as it relates to this 5%. Do you get where I'm coming from?
I do, and that's exactly the point that hasn't been highlighted on your radio show. There is an awful lot of fish, in fact 95% of the fish, and more than 95%, because we haven't quite reached our benchmark of 5% yet. So 95% plus has been landed in and weighed in the factories. So you're right, there is an awful lot of fish going into Killybegs.
Pascal, I hope you're aware, and maybe the messages haven't been passed on to you, that right from the very, very beginning of this, as we do on this programme, we were looking to speak to you or someone from the Sea Fisheries Protection Authority to make sure that your side of the story or your views or the views of the SFPA were out there and given equal platform. You are aware of that, are you?
I wasn't actually.
Well, we have how many inquiries? Well, we've made every single time that we have raised this issue, or this issue has been raised with us, we've contacted the SFPA for a spokesperson.
Okay, well, I'm happy.
And we've logged all those calls, and I'm more than happy to make them available to you if you want to check it out, because that's what we try and do on this programme. It would be far more constructive to speak to the like you, Pascal, than for us to have a conversation without the SFPA involved. So we've made every effort to make sure that the authority was represented in the conversation.
Okay, and look, I'm happy to have the opportunity to speak with you now. What I would say is I've also offered to meet the community group in Killybegs. I'm in Killybegs tomorrow. I understand that it's a problem for them tomorrow, but I am still available there if they wish to meet me to speak about this.
Now, we had one Donegal fisherman who said the industry was on his knees, that because of the system that's in place, his blue whiting effectively had to be turned into fish meal. They lost €55,000. He believes that there is clear discrimination against fishermen in Donegal when compared to ports across Europe. Whilst you're on with us, what would your response to a claim like that be?
Well, I don't want to comment on any particular case, but I did hear a little bit of your previous clip from the MEP, and he correctly pointed out that Killybegs is unusual, if not unique, in the way that fish are landed and transported to factories by tankers.
What's the relationship like between the fishing industry, particularly in Donegal, and the SFPA? Could you and they work together, not in any way that would in any way be outside the rules? I'm not implying that for a moment, Pascal, but could the relationship be any better, that this could be handled better, that it could be less disruptive, but the goals of the SFPA could still be achieved?
Yeah, I mean, we meet regularly with the sector. We do have a consultative committee that is representative of all parts of the fishing sector, not just the Killybegs pelagic sector. But we meet regularly with them. We have had regular meetings, and I'm sure you've seen this in the press material that we've released. We have had regular meetings with the sector in relation to this. In fact, some members, some representatives of the sector have on occasion told us that they're happy to use the pier-side weighing device just to turn around at some stage later and say, actually, no, we're not going to use the pier-side weighing device. But as far as the relationship is concerned, absolutely, we do have a working relationship with the sector through their representatives, and we're happy to meet them at any stage. I don't think we have refused a meeting with them at any point, and certainly I would hope that will be the situation going forward. We obviously have to be cognizant of the fact that we're a regulator here, and as you rightly point to yourself, there is a role that we have to carry out, and we have to be careful that we stay within our remit while carrying out that role.
I'm trying to read between the lines here, and I could be very far out. Do you believe that if you were dealing with fishermen and fishers, individually, that this wouldn't be such an issue? Do you believe there are elements trying to frustrate this process?
I can't say that. I can't say that.
But you're not rejecting it out of hand either.
Well, I can't say that.
Okay, Pascal Hayes, as I say, maybe we can speak off air and find better ways to communicate, because we have tried to speak to the likes of yourself, because it makes it so much. It makes it so fair. It makes it fairer from my perspective, but I think it's a far better way of doing things. We have tried, Pascal, and maybe we can speak off air and see if we can open up a better line of communication. But for this morning, thank you very much for joining us.
Not at all, you're quite welcome.
All right, Pascal Hayes there, Executive Chair of the Sea Fisheries Protection Authority. What do you think? 086 60 25,000, your WhatsApps and texts, so give us a call on 074 91 25,000.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
COVID-19 can still cause serious illness, especially in people at higher risk. We need to keep protecting each other. So stay home if you have symptoms. Wear a mask in healthcare settings, public transport, and busy places. Let fresh air in if you're meeting indoors. Keep hands clean. And get a COVID-19 vaccine and booster. Let's keep looking out for each other. From the HSE, for us all.
With the brighter days, it's only natural to think about freshening up the paintwork in our homes, bringing colour and vibrancy to our living spaces. But the important thing isn't just the colours we choose, it's the paint. Fleet Wood use the highest quality ingredients for a richer colour and smoother finish that lets you wipe away the marks of everyday life. And it's Irish made, designed to work with the ever-changing Irish light. Would one range of paints transform your home? Fleet Wood would, naturally.
As we move into spring, it's time that we look after what is precious to us. Are you struggling with your hearing? Your hearing is an essential part of your everyday living. Hearing is our social sense and connects you to friends and family. At Connect Hearing, we are here for you with our clinics at Courtyard Shopping Centre, Letterkenny, and Joyce's Shrubbery Clinic in Dunlow. Our centres are open Monday to Friday, where you can avail of our hearing test, wax removal and repair services. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
I'm Rachel, a cancer survivor, letting you know that Relay for Life takes place on Saturday and Sunday, 28th and 29th of May this year. Why not get behind a participating team or come along to the event at the ATU campus in Letterkenny? See Facebook or contact relayforlifedonegal@gmail.com for more information. Relay for Life, celebrating cancer survivors and supporting the fight against cancer.
This ad is kindly sponsored by Divers Hyundai, Canal Road, Letterkenny.
Get the Irish Daily Star today for your free 12-page Punchestown Festival pullout with all the top tipsters in our stable ready to get you first past the post all week. The Irish Daily Star, number one for racing, number one for you.
I'm Stephanie Preisner, one of thousands of autistic people in Ireland, everyone experiencing life and autism in our own unique way. Unfortunately, many of the things connecting us are the barriers we face every day. Barriers most people don't face and so don't even see. Barriers to a proper education, barriers to employment, barriers in society that leave autistic people isolated and left out. Help us remove these barriers and give autistic people the same chance. Donate at asiam.ie.
Sportswear for men at Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure, Main Street, Letterkenny. Under Armour training, quarter zips, tech tees with classic training shorts in different lengths. Nike running range with quarter zips. Nike Pro t-shirts match with a classic 5-inch Nike running short. Adidas Tiro 21 range in new seasonal colours will have you looking healthy and fit. Look the part, play the part. In store or online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
You might think you know Ireland's ancient East, but maybe it's time for a closer look. Uncover stories bold and brave where vibrant city nights follow action-packed days. Set course for countless adventures at Carlingford Adventure Centre, or roam wild in wonder in the Glen of Aherlow and become captivated by the culture and craft of Kilkenny's cobbled streets. Ireland's ancient East, yours to explore. Keep discovering at discoverireland.ie.
For a great early season lawnmower deal, visit Gartley Sales and Hire. Exclusive stockists of Stiga in the Northwest. Mowers, trimmers and hedge trimmers. Full trade-in service available at Gartley Sales and Hire, Gartley, Letterkenny. Call 9126276.
Are you going to John's wedding?
Should the flowers on that weekend? There'll be sessions up and down the street all day.
Aye, Biggie Ling, Bekiol agus Crack agus Rira agus Rulabula.
Aren't you the best man?
This ad is kindly sponsored by Sailor Bill and Sister Sarah's, Donegal Fla, Letterkenny, 6th to the 8th of May.
All right, more of your comments coming in here. Men who use these sex trafficking services need to know sex trafficking is effectively the rape of women. They are rapists if they use these services. Men found using these services should face mandatory jail sentences. Hi Greg, there's a pothole between Ballyholey and Drummahole heading towards Letterkenny. Lorries and buses have to cross a continuous white line on a blind corner to avoid it. I use this road every day and it's been there since last September. Does anyone know why it's not being fixed? Is it down to expenses or incompetence? Another, were there some requests not addressed re-leaving cert exams during COVID? We were the only EU country to offer a choice between school assessment and a terminal exam. School profiles were excluded from predictive grades, unlike the UK. More third-level places were created. Some students I know were very happy with the outcomes and choices afforded to them. Yes, indeed. Certainly later in the process. Okay, I'll concede that. I think earlier on in the process, perhaps not so much. Had a hospital appointment this morning, was in the middle of the shower when the water went off. No warning, soap all over me. Had to go to a friend's house in Letterkenny to finish my shower. Why no warning from Irish Water or whoever cut it off in the Ramalton area? Well, repairs to a burst water main may cause disruptions to Ramalton surrounding areas. So in other words, it is scheduled works. Works were scheduled to take place until 1 p.m. on the 27th of April. Irish Water issued this advisory. They say, we recommend that you allow 2 to 3 hours after the estimated restoration time for your supply to fully return. There is a service called Map Alerter, where you get emails and notifications on such things, you know, and maybe it's worth us signing up to them. because then when it happens, we're like, oh, I don't know. I mean, I know the ESB, do they still slip a card through your door if there's a planned outage? I'm not sure Irish Water do that. I don't know. Can you wish Brian Breslin from Carndon a happy 60th birthday and best of luck on his retirement from the Donegal Fire Service after over 30 years of service? Well done, Brian. 3 decades of out there saving people's lives and being there. Running towards stuff, I suppose, when the rest of us might be running away. It's very much appreciated from everyone. But this request in particular from Sally and Jerry, Toy and Paul and Martina Craig. All right, it is the 9 till noon show. We'll be back with more after this from the Bangles. Oh, well, that is the Bangles and Manic Monday there. Right, now, Eilish joins us on the programme now. Good morning, Eilish.
Good morning, Greg.
Right, now, tell us the situation as it relates to, I believe, a family member of yours.
It does indeed. It's a sister of mine who would have a very small salon within her home. Small business, but she's very lucky. She had a lot of local customers, very loyal, good customers, and she loves her work. But on Monday of this week, we had received our electric 200 credit off our bill, which I have to say is not very clear on the bill either, how to read it, because it took me quite a bit.
100%, I agree with you.
You know, I find it very confusing. And I thought, you know, this will be a great help to my sister who has this little business because she pays very high electric bills. So I got in touch with her and I said we had got our credit today and had she received hers, and she had got her bill on the same day, and she said no, it's not online. I said, but you need to read the small print. I said, because it's very confusing on the bill, it's not very clearly done. I said, maybe you're reading it wrong. And she brought me down her bill, and no no mention of any credits on her bill. And I said to her, well, maybe yours is just delayed. I know they're doing them in different phases.
Yep, for sure.
We live quite close to one another, and I thought it would be very strange that she wouldn't have hers. So I suggested to her maybe to ring up and make inquiries about it, and which she did. And somebody got back to her and explained that because she has a business within her home, she doesn't qualify for the €200 credit.
Wow. And that would have been a nice lift for her, particularly, I think, with the rising cost of business, because she's working from home, so all her costs go up.
Exactly. And she's paying, high revenue. She's to keep her business afloat, she's had to pay extra for PPE gear, sanitizer. She put on expensive dividers. And with COVID, she's only allowed, because it's a small little salon, she couldn't have any more than 2 customers at any given time. And I just think it's very unfair. Even during the lockdown, she had to close every time that hair salons had to close. And she didn't receive the $350 that most people got because she was self-employed. They told her she wasn't entitled. She got $203 a week. So I just feel she's been penalised and a lot of different...
Every turnaround by the sounds of it.
Much so.
And I presume then the only way... She must have a commercial account, a business account then with the electricity provider, presumably, and they're not classing her then as a domestic customer? Is that how they're...
It must be the case, yeah, it must be the case. I don't know the whole ins and outs. I just know that when she rang up, she was just told she didn't qualify.
Now, we don't know how much of her usual bill of $500 would be business or would be just the usuals, the washing machine and the TVs and stuff and the lights. So you think at least they could come up with, even if it was, I don't know how they might do it, but the $200 would only ever come off her domestic usage. Do you know what I mean? Even though she operates a small business from the premises, it shouldn't preclude it because, as I say, the $200 would always come off the domestic use as well.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's not a business benefit.
No, I can't understand it at all. As I say, I thought I would highlight it in your program because I love listening to your program, and you always highlight these sort of issues.
Well, you're very nice. Thanks
and
for
I'm
that.
just wondering, are there many more people in the same position that are having this problem? As I say, it's difficult times to try to keep a business afloat, and it seems like she's hitting a brick wall every time.
It's just it's another slap in the face, really,
and
with everything else.
That she absolutely adores doing, and she has the good clientele, good loyal customers, which are keeping her afloat. But there's no.
Did you mention to Caroline which company it was, just so we can chase it up to see if it's one company, if it's across the board?
Which company? Her electric?
Yeah.
Electric Ireland?
Yeah, okay, that'll do. We'll check up with Electric Ireland because I want to find out if it's specific to one company, Eilish, or if it's across the board. Right, okay, we'll follow that up. We'll try and get an answer. And you've opened up the question there to other people listening. There's a lot of people, I don't know, even if you're working from home. I mean, if someone is working from home for a company, why should they be treated any different to your sister? Because both of them are working in the house. Both of them are probably using, more electricity than they might if they didn't work at home. Why should your sister be penalised when someone who's working from home isn't? All of those questions we'll try and get answers to.
Yeah, but that's, there's a lot of people, that can work from home and did do so during the lockdown. And, I'm just being very interested to know is there somebody that we can contact, or is there something we can do to look into this?
We will get onto it for you and what have you. It just, for all the amount of people, there's a lot of them, but in the wider scale of things, there's not. It seems to be a little bit tight for no reason. Okay, leave that with us. We'll chase it up, follow it up. If we can get answers or signpost you to an ombudsman or whatever it might be to see if you can. But it's out there now and we'll see what we can do. Thank you for the call and thanks for your kind words, by the way, Eilish. It's really appreciated.
Thank you for giving me your time.
No problem. Okay, any other issues like that? 086 60 25,000. That's what we're here for. We are genuinely here for you, and we try and do our best. And we sort a lot of, I say we, Caroline and the team sort out an awful lot of stuff even before it gets on air as well. So that's what we're here for. 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts. Right, now we are going to be speaking to the former head of the Garda Fraud Squad, who is the author also of a new book called Tales from the Fraud Squad. His name's Willie Mcgee, and he joins us after these messages.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Is your bank leaving town? Letterkenny Credit Union is now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features with no appointment necessary to open your account.
With longer evenings, outdoor living is back, and there's great offers right now in garden furniture at Kelly Central Letterkenny. Outdoor tables, chairs and benches at unbeatable prices. Also, portable barbecues, accessories and everything for grilling and chilling. Find all you need for outdoor entertainment at Kelly's award-winning Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Milford Tiles, wood flooring and bathware. Milford Retail Park now open. Large range of wall and floor tiles on display and in stock. Over 70 different laminate floors to suit every pocket. Tilers and wood fitters available. New bathware showroom now open. Milford Tiles, wood flooring and bathware. 083 091 0707.
Join EirGrid, the operator of the National Electricity Grid, on May the 4th at the Clanry Hotel at Letterkenny and May the 5th at the Abbey Hotel, Donegal Town, for the EirGrid Energy Citizens Roadshow. These roadshows will provide information about home energy efficiency upgrades, retrofitting grants, community microgeneration schemes and the future of energy in Donegal. To register for the roadshows, visit airgrid.ie/shaping. EirGrid, delivering a cleaner energy future.
Win with low prices from SuperValue. With great offers like SuperValue Fresh Irish Strip Loin Roast, save 33%. Epic! Mix and match on selected Persil powder and Pampers nappy pants, any 3 for €20. Unreal! And Brancott Estate Sauvignon Blanc, only €10. Winning! Win with SuperValue low prices. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Enjoy stress-free travel this summer with Ryanair's brand new services to Birmingham, Edinburgh and Manchester. Ireland West Airport. You're flying.
Okay, a short but sweet one. Sunny spells today with temperatures 12 to 14 degrees in light easterly breezes. We'll tell you what evening and tomorrow morning holds for you at 11:45. Now, as I mentioned, Willie Mcgee is author of the Tales from the Fraud Squad. He joins us now. Willie, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg.
It's great to have you. Sorry, go ahead, Willie. Leak slip.
From nice sunny leak slip in County Kildare, yeah.
It's a part of the world I've never been, so it sounds lovely. Right, 30 years as a member of the force, and also, of course, head of the God of Fraud Squad. I suppose just before we dig into, some of the stories of it and what we can expect from your new book, well, what is the role of the God of Fraud Squad, and how does it operate within the force? And I suppose, has it changed much over the years?
Well, it has been the Fraud Squad when I joined it in the mid-70s, and it has changed its name to the Garda Bureau of Fraud Investigation in the meantime. Now it's the Garda National Economic Crime Bureau. So we're changing with times, like international fraud squads. But it's still the Fraud Squad. It's still referred to as the Fraud Squad in all Garda circles in the country. So the Fraud Squad is still there, operating.
And what would its day-to-day work be, Willie?
Well... now it has changed. It has changed a lot since my time in it, because it's far more technical now than the bread and butter stuff that we used to do, and which you will read if you buy the book. And there are plenty of stories. It's really transferred from the analog version of Lifetime to digital, So it's.
And I suppose the Fraud Squad most recently.
Plenty entertaining stuff.
Yeah, I would say the Fraud Squad most recently would have been involved in that international sort of investigation into the Kinahan organised crime group. That's the kind of stuff they'd be at now too, as well as the.
Well, on the periphery, really, I suppose, Greg. But there'll be more arrests in Serious Crime Squad or Criminal Assets Bureau operations.
Rightio. Okay.
Yeah.
So. Talk to us then about one of the biggest or at least one of the standout cases for you over the course of your career, Willie.
Well, in 1979 we dealt with an extortion attempt from the Department of Agriculture, whereby the extortionists attempted to obtain €5.5 million at that time to prevent the spread of foot and mouth disease in the country. It was an extortion attempt, something like the HSE one there that happened last year. So that one carried on for 9 months, and it's a pretty interesting story. 5.5 million in 1979 would be something like maybe 75 to 80 million today. But that was the biggest one really that we investigated in our time.
And
it's an interesting one. It takes up a full chapter in my book, the whole story from start to finish.
And you give us an insight, an unprecedented insight into it, because you know all the ins and outs. And at that time too, I don't know if it could happen now, but it would have been very much part of the operation to keep it on the QT, to keep it quiet, I imagine.
That's right. That's what we tried our best to do, to keep it quiet for fear that they would know that it was out in the open and that they would spread their foot and mouth if they knew that it blew. But it had to be kept under wraps, very much so. I was a young detective at the time, and I was tasked with the job of picking up the letters from the Department of Agriculture when they arrived there, intermittently, and carrying out the instructions that they issued. And that was to put an ad in the classified section of the Irish Times after each receipt of each letter, and that's what I did. Went to the Irish Times, put in a peculiar ad, said that Thomas Smith has read your message and has agreed to your proposals, and then we carried on to stage 2, and that carried on for nearly 6 months until such time as we carried out their instructions to bring the 5 million in the boot of a car, and we didn't fulfil the agreement with them, and it came to it was a ball of smoke in the end. And needless to say, the foot and mouth stuff wasn't carried through.
But it was hugely ambitious, and it was obviously structured in a way that it had to be taken very, very seriously. You know, this wasn't someone correct. Being held ransom where it's very simple. What they were claiming they would be responsible for, you had to take it as serious because of the consequences of it.
Absolutely. Actually, Charlie Bird did a very good podcast on it there for Senior Times. And he christened it Ransom 79, and it was a very good podcast. And he had hoped to do a documentary on it as well for RTE, but unfortunately his voice went and he couldn't carry through with it.
Yeah, very sadly. Does it frustrate you that I don't think anyone was actually found responsible for that fraud?
No.
Does it frustrate you? Is that like the itch that still needs scratching, or are you content enough with your role in it?
I suppose there's no statutory limitation to it, and it could still be. So if we got the guilty parties, we could still prosecute them. But unfortunately, in that time in the 79s and 80s, our legislation strength was very poor. We were operating under the Larceny Act of 1916, which went back a good bit. And we were also operating under the Forgery Act, which was 1913. And that went back a lot as well, and it didn't change until an act came out in 2002 to give us better powers. We couldn't arrest anybody unless we found them committing the offence. And oftentimes we had to go back even to 1863 to carry out sections of the Forgery Act that we couldn't enact in the 70s and 80s, which was terrible then, but it had been rectified in the meantime since I left the force. I left the force in 2002, and since then the legislation has become much stronger, and it's like DNA evidence is it's available now, but we had no DNA evidence in 1970.
It was old-fashioned police work.
It was,
isn't it? And just in relation. Not named individuals, of course, but did you always have a working theory as to who might be responsible? Was it an organisation? Was it a group of individuals? Was it people outside the country? What was your, and maybe still your theory, Willie?
Well, we had a fair idea who orchestrated it. It was one particular intelligent man who was capable of carrying out those kind of forgeries or crimes, and we had a fair idea who it was, but we couldn't connect anything with him. No, we tested all the documentation that we received that time for fingerprints, and no fingerprint of any note came up on the documentation. So they obviously handled the documents very well with gloves or whatever.
And are you able to name that individual in the book, or do you have to still be careful?
No.
Okay, I'm just trying to find out if he's still around or not, but okay.
No, actually, the man is long gone, unfortunately.
Right, okay, I get you. Yeah. Now, it's amazing what people are... I mean, brazen is the only word to describe it, what they are capable of doing, how far they will go. It's like something out of that film with Leonardo DiCaprio, where he was forging pilot's checks and what have you. You would avoid the Gardaí, you would imagine, you'd avoid the Gardaí or Garda checks with a barge pole. Not the case with some, though.
Well, we investigated a case of criminals who forged our own Garda paychecks and carried out a number of transactions with the forgeries. That's the story in the book as well. It's too complicated. Or
Too long to get into. Or maybe,
it's an interesting one.
I don't know if it's silly or amazingly clever, because I presume at a time people would go, well, these checks have to be real, because no one's going to forge Garda checks, are they?
That's correct. And when they were cashed in the shops, the shopkeepers wouldn't usually ask for your identification, and if they did, they wouldn't examine it. And this guy had his photograph taken in Dublin bus, and he had obtained an outer cover of a Garda badge, and all he had to do was flash the badge to the shopkeeper and hand the check in as well, and the shopkeeper wouldn't compare the name on the card he showed to the name on the check, and they cashed the checks no problem, because he was aware of shops where Gardaí used to cash their checks through a guard who was on the wrong side, and he carried out his transactions in those shops that were familiar with the guards, and the shops who wouldn't ask for identification, knowing that he would come in. He was 56 years old at the time, and he had a blue shirt with the Garda type in, and he looked like a guard, and he actually had a pronounced limp and this was one particular piece of information that came through from every place he cashed a check. And when we examined all the transactions, we calculated he was a particular person who developed a limp because he was in Mountjoy prison doing his sentence, and he feigned a sickness and was brought to the Mater Hospital. And while in the Mater Hospital, he asked to go to the toilet and on the Eccles Street side of the Mater, the old Mater. And he opened the window, and he decided to jump from the window to escape out onto the footpath. But he unfortunately impaled himself by the backside on the railings, and which meant that he spent a lot longer in the hospital than he intended to initially. And that was the self-imposed limp. Then one of his legs was shorter than the other. But we never thought that he would have the intelligence or the capability of cashing Garda checks. But we were right in the end when we arrested him. And we arrested him actually on a St. Stephen's Day in 1992 or 93. But he served 3 years imprisonment for his troubles anyway.
All right, and that's just to sample the stories of $56 million frauds. Your work as it relates to the former Taoiseach Charles Haughey under the spotlight of that famous tribunal, and so much more besides. There's an international, national element to it. Where can people get their hands on this book? Because as I say, I mean, this... you can have fiction stuff, but this is someone from within an organisation, the head of it, writing about these cases. It gives us an insight that I think we're lucky to be getting. So where can people get the book?
Well, I think any good bookshop, Easton's, right? Any bookshop at all have been distributed to, and it's everything that's in it is true and genuine and stuff that I was involved in. And just before I finish, Greg, when I was told that Greg Hughes was interviewing me, I played football for Mayo in the 60s and 70s, and we played awfully in many competitive games. And the one fullback that not alone I feared, but a lot of other people feared, was a fellow by the name of Greg Hughes from Offaly.
That's the only thing me and him have in common.
Well, he was a great footballer in the 60s and 70s.
Indeed, I've read up, because he's a namesake, I've actually read up a little bit about him. Yeah. So I understand he was a fearsome fellow, all right.
He was, yeah. All
right, Willie, listen, thanks so much for chatting to us. Best of luck with everything in the book.
Your name anyway.
No, okay.
Forget your name.
I'd say you don't forget too many names either, Willie. Good man.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Cheers. That is Willie Mcgee. He's author of Tales from the Fraud Squad. He is the former head of the Garda Fraud Squad. We just got a sample of a couple of the interesting cases he worked on in your local bookstore. You can pick up a copy of that if it's something you'd be interested in, or someone close to you interested in that procedural police work and all that kind of stuff. You'll get a great insight into it. 08660 25,000 WhatsApps and texts to that number, as I hope many of you know. 07491 25,000. You can watch the programme, just to remind you, if you want to. A lot of people watch it on their Fire Stick, on Facebook Watch, or on YouTube, or on other smart devices. A lot of TVs now have YouTube built in. If you want it on in the background, if you work from home or you're at home, go on to our YouTube page, Highland Radio Ireland, where you can watch many of our guests and all of the programme. And also on our website, highlandradio.com. It's always great to have you, however you engage with us.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union. 9102127.
Sport is at the heart of every community, and so is Special Olympics. Every day, volunteers help people with an intellectual disability to experience joy through sport. The Special Olympics Annual Collection Day takes place on Friday 29th of April. Please give what you can to our bucket collectors on Friday 29th of April or donate through your Revolut app. Thank you.
Lidl's inflation-busting offers are helping families all across Ireland.
As a family of 5, I have seen huge changes in the savings. I see them every week. There's a great variety of products. Very pleased with it.
Inflation-busting offers at Lidl. More for you. Customers were paid a gratuity for their time.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us what. The Lotto jackpot is an estimated €7 million. Play responsibly in store, in app, or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
The CFC Interiors stock disposal sale is now on. Due to overstock, an incredible £1.5 million worth of stock must go. Don't miss our highest ever stock discount on selected ranges across all departments. The stock disposal sale at CFC Interiors, Derry, Cookstown and Abbey Centre.
Get the Irish Daily Star today for your free 12-page Punchestown Festival pullout with all the top tipsters in our stable ready to get you first past the post all week. The Irish Daily Star. Number 1 for racing, number 1 for you.
Okay, it is 11 o'clock. You tune to the 9 till noon show here in Highland Radio. The last hour of the programme on the way. It's an interesting one. I hope you'll agree. You'll have to listen to find out. But it is time for a news update, and it's good morning once again to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The SFPA has warned that all landings at Killybegs will have to be weighed at the pier site unless the current control plan in place is adhered to. There has been much controversy in recent weeks as many fishermen have left the harbour with a full catch due to rules being enforced by the regulator, which insists on the fish being weighed without water. In agreement with the EU Commission, 5% of bulk pelagic landing at Killybegs must be subject to a full control inspection on landing on the pier, while 95% of landings are weighed at a factory after transport. The Junior Minister with responsibility for rural Ireland says reports show that lower income people won't be worse off thanks to the carbon tax. Joe O'Brien has been responding to opposition criticism of the government's plans and upcoming ban on turf. Later, the Dáil will vote on a Sinn Féin motion seeking to scrap upcoming restrictions on the commercial sale of turf. Taoiseach Micheál Martin has told the Dáil he believes health services in border areas should be organised on a regional basis and that Donegal patients should be looking towards Altnagalvin Hospital in Derry rather than Galway. He said joint initiatives such as the North West Cancer Centre have been very successful and the challenge will be to build up trust with those unionists who are suspicious of such cooperation. A Donegal deputy has described a lack of infrastructure in the North West as a mortal sin. Deputy Padraig McLaughlin believes due to the absence of a rail network and continued delays with the A5 that the Irish government should reinstate financial support for the City of Derry Airport. The EU says it's unacceptable for the Kremlin to cut gas supplies to Bulgaria and Poland because they're refusing to pay in Russia's own currency. President Putin brought in the rule in response to Western sanctions over the war in Ukraine. And police say they are becoming increasingly concerned for a missing person who was last seen in the Portrush area on Saturday last. It's believed Cleona Mulvena travelled to Derry. Anyone with information regarding her whereabouts is asked to contact police. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Okay, Michaela, thank you very much for that. Okay, it's Wednesday. Our Wellness Wednesday now is focusing on organ donation, and I'm delighted to welcome in studio two guests, Darren Winston and Mary Winston. Both of you, you're very welcome to the programme.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you very much for joining us. And also, we are going to be joined by Colin White, the National Advocacy and Projects Manager for the Irish Kidney Association. He's going to be joining us very shortly. Mary, when did it become apparent that you needed a kidney transplant?
The end of 2018, about October 2018.
And what is the process then? Like, what do the doctors tell you in terms of that? They say, you need a new kidney. Is that it?
Well, the patient has to be assessed then to make sure that they're a suitable candidate to have a kidney, that your heart is okay, and that you have no other underlying conditions that might be life-threatening.
Yeah, because I suppose an organ is an incredibly valuable item, not necessarily monetarily valued. So they have to ensure that
you're a healthy person.
The host is going to give it its best chance.
Absolutely. So the host of X-ray scans, stress tests, angiograms, anything and everything was tested. And
things progressed in a bad way for you really quite quickly in 2018, didn't they?
Absolutely. From January until September. I was well at the beginning of January, and in September I knew I was going to have a transplant.
Yeah, and what options were you given at that point? I mean, a transplant, or what might happen if maybe a donor might not be available?
Well, there was two choice of donors. One was the deceased or a living donor, or I suppose if things... I could have been on dialysis.
Okay, so how did they talk to you about a living donor? How does that conversation go?
Well, a person has to be over 21. They have to be a healthy person, and they have to be willing, and they undergo counselling and everything. And normally somebody would volunteer. You wouldn't go say to somebody, "Can I have your kidney from you?"
That's kind of where I'm getting to.
It's a voluntary process.
Yes, of course. And are you put on a list, or is it an exchange program, or what way does it work?
Well, I was on the deceased list first, and then Darren very kindly volunteered. He was the first person to volunteer, and he had his bloods and all done, and he was deemed a match for me. And then he had to have all the tests done as well.
And did they tell you that, it's possible there's a match within your family if you wanted to go and, explore that side of it?
Well, that's always a possibility.
And they say that?
Yeah, that's always blood relatives, yeah.
So, I mean, did you sort of then, go on the family WhatsApp group, or like, how do you...
No, I didn't have to do that because Darren was the first one who volunteered. And he went through the process, and we were a match. So
when did you realise, Darren, that you could be a possible donor for your mum?
Well, I suppose I was going with my mum to the appointments, and I heard the different processes that were available. So there is a paired donor system, and then the deceased donor system, and then a living donor. And I think then it just kind of, I suppose for me, I realised that, well, actually, this is something I could do. And then from talking to the specialists in Beaumont, that it was obvious that I could have a big impact on her health without very much impact on my own health at all. So it seemed like a no-brainer to me, I guess.
Is that something you had to think twice about?
Not really. I suppose, like from seeing other people in my family who have been unwell over the years, you're always wishing that there's something that you could do to help them. And in this case, there was something that I could do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you don't have to think about that.
Yeah. I'm not sure everyone's the same. I think that's more a credit to you, really, than you're giving yourself credit for. I mean that not patronising in any way, shape or form. But I mean, obviously, we've advanced greatly in terms of what we're able to do medically and to help people. But there's always a risk. It's a significant operation, and you had to get all the checks to make sure it wouldn't have a negative impact on you.
Yeah. I mean, I've never been through so many tests in my life. Like, and as Mum said, like counselling and psychiatric tests and psychologists and all of that side, and then the health side of it, to make sure that, of course, like I have to live my life now with just one kidney, so it's to make sure that I can live, that it's not putting my health in jeopardy, that I can live a healthy life going forward with just one kidney.
Did you, or were you advised as to any sort of changes you have to make to your life going forward to best protect your kidney?
Not really. I mean, there are certain things like, obviously being fit and active and healthy, but nothing more than we should be doing anyway.
Exactly. You can live your life. But Mary, I mean, as generous as it is, eats your flesh and blood as well, and it seems on the face of it as a very significant sacrifice. I'm sure it is. Did you try and discourage him, or maybe is there close enough that you can he's made his mind up and there's no point trying to convince him otherwise?
I didn't discourage him, but I questioned it. And I also had to question myself a lot. What am I doing taking a kidney? Will he have a normal life afterwards? Will it impact on his lifestyle? All those thoughts were going through my head, and it took me a while to process it and got reassurances from the consultants as well. And I probably knew a few people who had been donors and read a few stories, and that gave me more confidence then moving forward.
Yeah. Okay.
But I was hesitant initially.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
From the perspective that it was my son
Mhm.
and it would impact on his life.
Yeah, exactly. But it sounds like you got great support from the medics, the professionals,
Absolutely,
that they
were all,
answer every question.
Every one of them, yeah.
And then when you would see his clean bill of physical and mental health too, you're reassured in that regard as well, presumably.
Yeah.
So that was 2018. So, obviously your kidney function deteriorated through that year. How quickly then did it come to the point where they says, right, well, we're going to do this operation?
Well, the operation was scheduled for March 2020. And then COVID put paid to that.
As if things weren't complicated enough.
And then there was a provisional date for June, but then it was rescheduled for September. And so it proceeded on the 7th of September 2020.
Right, okay. So you had been through the whole process together with you accompanying your mum, Darren, and that continued then presumably. You go to the hospital at the same time, the operations are, pretty much at the same time?
Yeah. So
where did that take place?
It all happens in Beaumont. So, we went up there the night before and prepped for surgery, and then Mum was brought for surgery in the morning, and then I was brought down. No, the other way around. I was brought for surgery first thing in the morning.
You don't have your mother's kidney here. We didn't mess this up, did we?
And then once the kidney was safely out of my body, then her surgery began. A couple of hours later or whatever.
Yeah, you went down about 8 and I was brought down at 12, and Darren's consultant came out and said to me, we have the kidney on the table now, we're prepping it.
It's amazing, isn't it?
We'll be bringing you in very soon.
And after his kidney was put into you, how soon did you start seeing a difference or feeling a difference?
Kidney worked instantly.
Yeah.
When I was woke up after the surgery, they told me it was working, and they told me what my creatinine level was, which was massively reduced from what I had prior to the surgery. It was normal level.
Did that feel surreal in that it's like almost, I'm not simplifying it, but it's almost like a light switch in terms of how it affects you positively, but also maybe everything just hit you what just happened?
Well, my quality of life improved immensely, whereas post-surgery, Darren's body had to adjust, and it probably took him slightly longer to recover.
So you're doing your 5K and he's still in the hospital?
No, he was discharged actually before me.
Obviously the body does have to get used to it, as your mum has very well described there, but what was the recovery process like?
Yeah, well, her body was getting something that it really wanted and really needed, but my body was losing something that it probably wasn't very happy to lose, and it did take me a number of weeks to come around to myself. You have a massive scar, and you've been through major surgery, and the recovery process was slow enough, I guess, but there wasn't much happening in the world in 2020, so I had plenty of time to recover and lots of time to recuperate.
But that being said too, there was the fear presumably of catching COVID, and you would have been vulnerable. Both of you were. So did you stick it out together, and for how long, and how did that work?
It was a major part of it. Before when the operation was originally due to take place in March 2020, all of the process beforehand was about the supports that you could have in place, the people that you could have around you, and then that kind of all went out with COVID. We weren't allowed to have anyone around. So for I think 2 weeks before the operation, and then 4 weeks after the operation, we had to completely isolate from everybody. We did that together. So, but after that, with COVID being so bad and Mum being on immunosuppressants, it was difficult. It was very, very difficult to live a life where you were interacting really with people, because you were always so aware.
It prolongs
of
everything, doesn't it? Really,
Yeah.
You can't talk about recovery times as such, because whilst there is a physical recovery, every other element of it is dragged
COVID
out.
Changed it an awful lot.
Yeah. And in terms of your life now, do you have to take medicine still?
I'll be on medication for life. I take, suppressants twice a day.
Yeah, so you have to still be cautious, and generally you'd have to be cautious as well.
Yeah.
But it's clear that your health is very good.
Yeah, absolutely, and in good health, thank God.
I mean, I think it's clear that you were very close before all of this started. Does it change? Does it just make you even closer? The fact that, I mean, you bear us, women bear the men, and now I suppose something going back in the other direction. So that sounds terrible, and it's created images. That I wasn't anticipating. But do you know what I mean? Does it?
Yeah, we've always been very close. So I'm not sure that it's changed that in any way.
Right.
But,
are you a bit more cautious of what she's eating or drinking? As if to say, I've got some of a dog in the race.
No,
here.
that's the thing. I mean, she was always been such a healthy and fit person that I knew the kidney was going to somebody who was going to look after it, I guess. So that wasn't really an issue. But.
So what has the whole experience been for you, Darren? I mean, I think you seem very sort of matter of fact, and that's in a very positive way, that you've sort of taken this very much in your stride. So I think maybe it's impacted you less than it might other people, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, perhaps.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds to me like you're saying, look, I love my mum. I had a way of helping her. I've done it. And now I'm getting on with my own thing, if you know what I mean. That's
how it is for me, yeah. It's had very little impact on my life as such. At the time, for a couple of months of recovery. And then after that, it was just life as normal, back to normal. But for me, what is amazing is that you can see how it can change somebody's life and how it can impact their life. I could see my mother's health deteriorating quickly before my eyes. And then I guess for once there was something that you could actually do about it.
Something meaningful and actual.
And the amazing thing to me is that how it can change basically overnight, once she recovered from the surgery, all of the restrictive dieting, all of the, different things that she couldn't do sort of changed instantly. So, I mean, it just shows how important it is.
And how life-changing it can be for a recipient.
Talk to me a little bit about that. I mean, because obviously we've talked about how your health was deteriorating and then, very quickly it bounced back. But it changes you, I imagine, in some way or other. Does it, going through such an experience?
Well, you don't go to bed tonight and wake up totally sick tomorrow. It's a gradual process, and it was only when I received the kidney that I really realised how unwell I was, the tiredness.
You were coping maybe more.
The tiredness and the very restricted diet and the cold. I was really so cold.
Yeah.
And lack of energy. Yeah.
And it's amazing the teams that are available to make this happen, isn't it, out there?
Oh, absolutely. The staff in Beaumont are amazing. And consultants in Letterkenny were great with me. GPs down Scally Practice were excellent. Every one that I encountered, the nurses in Renal and Letterkenny, every one of them, they're all top class people.
All right, stay with us. As I mentioned, Colin White is the National Advocacy and Projects Manager for the Irish Kidney Association. He's available for us now. Good morning to you, Colin. Thanks very much for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
I mean, so it's a wonderful story that we're hearing, isn't it, from our guest today?
It is. It's fantastic to hear firsthand the impact that organ donation can have on the quality of life of the recipient. And I think for Organ Donor Awareness Week this week, that's a key message that we want to get across as the Irish Kidney Association is organ donation. It saves lives, it transforms lives, and it's not just the recipient, it's the ripple impact, it's the benefit to their family of having a healthier family member. There's their position within the community, and quite often something that's overlooked is viewing organ donation as a legacy to your own family, because when we listen to deceased donor family members speak of it after the fact, you'll find sometimes they describe it as the one bright light in a very dark time, because there's that kind of realization that, well, we were going to lose our loved one anyway. That fate had determined that, but because of their thoughtfulness, there's 3, 4, 5 other individuals and their families who are going to celebrate more birthdays, more Christmases, walk a daughter down the aisle, see grandkids, whatever it might be. And that's a powerful legacy for your own family, as well as the transformational impact on the lives of the recipients.
Yeah, in terms of the case that we've been discussing here between Darren and Mary, is that less? Does that happen less than, say, for instance, you know, anonymous donors, or what is the breakdown there? Do we know, Colin?
It's pre-COVID, you're looking at probably around about 50 living donations per year, so on average one a week. Whereas deceased donation, you could be talking maybe in around 140, 150 of them per year, depending on the number of donors that were available.
Okay, so does that mean then, in terms of what Darren and Mary have done, is there a hesitance then, or for reasons that maybe there's not or is it compatibility, or why would the number of sort of voluntary donations, living donations, be so much lower than those that maybe deceased organs? Yeah.
Compatibility would be the issue. Like Darren mentioned briefly there about paired exchange. So you could have a situation where you have a mother and a son, with the son a willing donor but is not a match. And then maybe you have another mother and son elsewhere in the same situation. But in couple A, the son could donate to the mother in couple B, and then the son in couple B could donate to the mother in couple A, and get the transplant done that way. But it's it's kind of, statistics play against a decent, good quality match happening. Now, obviously, you're going to have a higher chance of finding a match within family. But like an interesting statistic in relation to living donation is the average living donor lives longer than the average Joe on the street. Now, on the face of it, you might sort of say, well, why aren't we all donating kidneys if it makes us live longer? But that's not actually the situation. It's, you have to be in such good shape to be considered a potential organ donor, like living organ donor, that you are going to live longer than the average Joe on the street anyway. So it's the there are a lot of families out there who, as I say, there isn't a living donor match available, so they're relying on the deceased.
It's probably got nothing to do with this conversation, but it's some advertisement for, you know, if we started doing, you know, routine extensive screening of people, the money we could probably save, or what we could prevent down the line if we did it early enough in their lives. What is the situation now as it relates to organ donation, where people carry cards or an opt-out system, or what is the situation now? Because when we have these conversations, we do get a lot of people calling saying, well, you know, I've heard that story, I want to do this, I want to make a change. But not logistically, but in terms of where we're at in how we operate the organ donation system, where are we at?
Currently, to be a potential organ donor, you have to be in an intensive care unit on a life support machine when they declare you brainstem dead. So independent doctors have come in, and unfortunately the ICU team have lost the fight to save your life. And it's only at that point then that organ donation becomes a potential opportunity. And it's the family of the patient who are going to be approached to seek permission for organ retrieval. Now, in that situation, the family have just got the shattering news that they've lost their loved one. So it's an emotionally very charged time, and a very, very tough time. And so if you've had the kind of the organ donation conversation with your family in advance, so using this week, Organ Donor Awareness Week, as the prompt, using this interview as the prompt to have that conversation over the dinner table or whenever it may be, it makes that decision at the point of you being a potential organ donor just a little bit easier on your family, because they're kind of, I remember he said, she said that they wanted to donate their organs. So
have a firm conversation, say, because it can be something that can be said off the cuff or in passing, because we don't want to consider, a lot of people don't want to consider them, but actually say, look, by the way, if it comes to this situation, this is what I want, and I'd really appreciate it. As much as you might respect what I want in terms of a funeral or funeral music, I really want you to respect what I'm saying, because you're ultimately going to be the decision maker.
Exactly, like the organ donor card we have, like there's the traditional card, the kind of credit card style sized card, and then there's a digital organ donor card app equally. Is a good kind of solid prompt, as you say, that it's kind of, look, I've gone as far as texting DONOR to 50050 to request an organ donor card. Like I'm serious about this. And so even outside of Donor Week, the donor card is there as the icebreaker. Like it's how do you get that conversation going at home, and it then kind of empowers the family that. At a time where they're going to feel very powerless, they've just been told that they've lost you, and they can do that one final thing for you. They can carry out your wishes, and many donor families take great solace from this, that they realise, yes, we've lost our loved one, but there are other families out there.
Yeah, and I also think people don't just tell their closest brother or sister, because there could be different people being asked the same question on a ward at that time, and I think it's important that everybody knows the person's wishes.
That's where the likes of the digital organ donor card app is great, because it has the facility built into it that you can share the fact that you want to be an organ donor. So, like, you can bounce the message directly into the family WhatsApp, and let them all get a message kind of saying Colin has downloaded the digital organ donor card because he wants to be an organ donor, and that kind of inspires the conversation. So it makes it very easy to spread it. Like in the past, before kind of we had all the technology we have today, we were relying on people to pick up a donor card in their pharmacy and their GP surgery. Now, they're still available there, but the fact that you can request one via a free text number, or you can download the app, we're kind of bringing the card to the people to make the decision and the commitment just that little bit easier. And
so if people make that decision and they make everyone aware, I've heard of cases in the past, and I just don't have the full detail to go into the ins and outs of it, but do we have the right people or protocols in place in all of our hospitals to ensure that if someone is, as you've described earlier, and willing to donate their organs, that we make sure that those organs are donated, if you understand? Maybe it's a roundabout way of asking.
I know.
Nothing is lost.
I know what you're getting at. We have made some very positive strides in recent years. The HSE has developed the Organ Donation and Transplantation Ireland office, and they kind of are the HSE kind of overseers, if you like, to make sure that the organ donation process is there, it's embedded, it's part of the culture, and also that it's all done very very safely and respectfully as well. So resources are an issue. There's no doubt about that. But in terms of when a potential donor is identified, like everything is done that is possible to realise that organ donation, because we all understand just how rare I was going to say a commodity, but that depersonalises how rare a gift organ donation is.
So talk to me about if a person, of general good health, very sadly something were to happen to them, and they had said that they want to donate their organs, and they're, as you described, in hospital on life support. What from them helps other people, and how?
Well, if we kind of start from the upper body, you've got the heart, the lungs, the liver, the 2 kidneys, the pancreas are all potential. Have potential for being retrieved, but you could have a situation where maybe somebody's heart was not suitable for donation, but maybe their liver is fine or their kidneys are fine. So, like, originally the very first donor card was the kidney donor card back in 1978 when the Irish Kidney Association began. Like, it actually introduced the national donor card. And that it was only kidney back then because transplantation was in its infancy and it was primarily kidney transplants. But over time, it has become the organ donor card. That it's to encourage the donation of all organs. But the family can have kind of the final say that, yeah, we're happy for the kidneys, we're happy for the heart, whatever it might be. But equally, medically, it might be that not all of the organs are viable for transplant, but some of them could be.
Okay, and it's all done very respectfully and that type of stuff as well, I'm absolutely sure. Colin, just remind us, if we wish to register, there's the analogue ways, there's digital ways now. If we want to use this week to be an organ donor, we can give the gift that Darren did, but it could be for somebody else, and who's to say it couldn't be one of our own down the line. How do we go about registering?
Well, it's the gift that keeps on giving, and it's the simplest way is to free text DONOR to 50050, or if you're online, go onto the IKA website, ika.ie, and you can put in your details there. The donor card will come to you. Or if you enjoy using apps on your smartphone, you can download the digital organ donor card. But the most important part of it is the conversation with your family.
Yeah.
The traditional card has a space for your next of kin to sign, and the reason for that is it helps you initiate that conversation. You kind of hand the card over to a family member and say, here, can you sign this? And they're asking, well, what am I signing? What's this all about?
Yeah. I mean, we're reluctant to even do wills, many of us, so we have a bit to overcome. But look, nothing bad can come from such a conversation. Is there an upper age limit in terms of registering as a donor? A listener wants to know, finally, Colin.
That's a very good question, and an answer I would often give to that is it's not always the age of the car or the miles on the clock, it's how the car was driven. You could have somebody in their 70s who is in really very good health, and equally there's an age matching element to organ donation and transplantation as well, that like to give a kidney from somebody in their 70s to somebody in their 70s could be a very practical and kind of sensible course of action.
Okay, listen, thanks Colin, I appreciate your time this morning.
Absolute pleasure.
All right, take care. Colin White there, the National Advocacy and Projects Manager for the Irish Kidney Association. Mary, obviously it's a personal choice as it relates to organ donation, but do you find yourself now, because you've had the gift of good health and life, perhaps even from Darren, do you find yourself more inclined now to sort of suggest to people in a nice way that this is something that you should consider?
Oh, absolutely. From both perspectives, from seeing it from the donor side and from the recipient side, I would highly recommend it.
Same with you.
It's life-changing for the recipient.
Darren, have you your friends' heads wrecked at this stage, or what's the story?
I wouldn't say that, but I do believe that everyone should have the conversation and talk about it with the family. I think probably, as Colm said, that in that moment of losing someone, it's probably not the first thing that comes to your mind, and to have the clarity of mind when you're going through that grief would be so difficult.
An informed decision at a tough decision at a tough time, but if it's informed, because people start guessing and doubting themselves, and if it's a clear conversation, you want to fulfill the wishes of your loved one.
Exactly.
And that's how you do it, by having that conversation. Mary, I'm delighted to see you in such great health, and Darren, fair play to you for what you've done as well, but I mean, you took it in your stride as well, but it is a brilliant thing, and our listeners, I know, looking at the text machine, agree. Both of you, thank you very much indeed. We appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
Okay, that was Wellness Wednesday. Back with more after the break.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
This is your guide to smart glasses. Smart glasses often look like regular glasses, and some of them have built-in cameras. Even if you don't wear smart glasses, it's helpful to know what it looks like when someone who is wearing them is taking a photo or video. The person wearing smart glasses usually has to take an action, such as tapping the capture button to activate the camera. When the smart glasses are recording, you'll see an LED light on the frame. So now you know a bit more about smart glasses.
A message from Meta and Essilor Luxottica.
Sun soak for less. This summer with TUI. Savings on holidays during May. Holiday sorted. TUI. Live happy.
For all your health and beauty needs, you can always rely on McGee's Chemist in Letterkenny. If you need a prescription, just call or order online at mcgees.ie and it will be ready for you in advance before you arrive. For beauty and skin care, there's all the big names at great prices in store and online. And for your photo printing needs, simply download the McGee's Photo Prints app or click on the website link. McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny, for all your health and beauty needs, and so much more. Call 91-21409 or visit mcgees.ie.
Milford Tiles, Wood Flooring and Bathware. Milford Retail Park now open. Large range of wall and floor tiles on display and in stock. Over 70 different laminate floors to suit every pocket. Tilers and wood fitters available. New Bathware showroom now open. Milford Tiles, Wood Flooring and Bathware. 083 091 0707.
Are you going to John's wedding?
Should the flowers on that weekend? There'll be sessions up and down the street all day.
Hi, Biggie Ling, Bekiol agus Crack agus Rira agus Rulabula.
Aren't you the best man?
This ad is kindly sponsored by Sailor Bill and Sister Sarah's. Donegal Fla, Letterkenny, 6th to the 8th of May.
The CFC Interior Stock Disposal Sale is now on. Due to overstock, an incredible £1.5 million worth of stock must go. Don't miss our highest ever stock discount on selected ranges across all departments. The Stock Disposal Sale at CFC Interiors Derry, Cookstown and Abbey Centre.
Shop women's dresses and women's footwear at Evolve Letterkenny Retail Park and evolveclothing.com.
Business Matters in association with the Faculty of Business at ATU Donegal. Looking for a career in financial services? Consider the Level 9 MA in Governance, Compliance and Data Protection. Take the next step in your career and contact the Exec Ed Coordinator on 9186206 or email execed, execed at lyit.ie today.
Okie doke, it's Wednesday morning, which means Highland Radio's Business Matters podcast is now available for you to listen to download. And there's other ways of getting your hands on it, which we'll talk about a little later on, but it's compiled and presented by Kieran O'Donnell. He joins us in studio now. Hiya, Kieran.
Good morning, Greg.
How are you keeping? How's your
very
week?
good.
Okay, I don't think I saw you last week, did I?
No, you were
I was
away.
away.
You were getting ready for Ed Sheeran.
Well, no, I hardly started getting ready for Ed Sheeran on Wednesday.
That's the line here they're using.
It was very good. I don't really like
You're
Ed
on a roll
Sheeran.
at the minute.
I know,
Yeah,
but that's it now. That is it. Like, it's been unbelievable and it's been great.
No more
It's been
holidays now, I heard you saying yesterday.
Yep, that's it, right?
Yeah.
Right, okay, but Ed Sheeran's good. Good live. I wouldn't be a big fan of his music, but he was very good. Okay, not that you asked. Right, okay, let's get some business news, starting with some Donegal ETB courses.
Yes, Loch S Castle in Donegal Town was the venue for the Wine and Spirit Education Trust Level 1 course hosted by Donegal ETB and Donegal Women and Business Network. And just another point of note, Donegal ETB's senior welding instructor, Willie Mcgee, has begun working with staff from Inishowen Engineering to upskill them in the MIG welding under the Skills to Advance initiative.
All right, the council and the chamber in the Finn Valley working together.
Yeah, Donegal County Council and the Balbafay and Stranraer Chamber of Commerce have embarked on a trial of a new approach to the upkeep of the public realm in the Twin Towns. So this new arrangement will see the council allocating a proportion of the car parking charges collected in the Twin Towns to provide grant assistance to the chamber to help them upkeep the upkeep of the public realm.
Yeah, brilliant stuff, and it's a great initiative, and things like interview with also the Finn Valley Voice or something to let people know what's happening and how it's progressing. I know that stuff is already done, but a lot of the positive stuff I think needs to be related. So that,
just a wee reminder of a cross community initiative.
This is what we're doing, or even in 6 months, this is what we've achieved, because. Then people say, well, you never hear the good news, but that also has to be pushed too, doesn't it?
Very much.
Right, funding for the conservation of Donegal's archaeological monuments. This is a significant amount of money too.
Yeah, 8 archaeological monuments in Donegal are set to benefit from over €300,000 in funding under the Community Monuments Fund announced by the Minister for Heritage and Electoral Reform, Michael Noonan. The Community Monument Fund is an initiative by the National Monument Service of the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage, and is in partnership with the local authorities.
Brilliant stuff. Now, the Northwest Regional College, it's teaming up.
Yeah, Northwest Regional College Business Support Centre has announced details of a new cross-border project with Killybegs-based marine engineering company KER Group. This 12-month project, which is funded by the Innovate programme, supported by European Union's Interreg programme and managed by the special EU programmes body, is aiming to develop a remote ship monitoring platform for monitoring refrigeration systems, engine builds and pumps and other alarm on-board boats. So that's a significant development in terms of technology and where all that's going.
Yeah, exactly. Pushing the boundaries. Okay, we mentioned this earlier, just running through the newspapers, a significant appointment for Leah Fairman.
Yeah, Stranraer native Leah Fairman has joined the Western Development Commission as National Hub's executive. In her previous role, Leah was the driving force behind BASIC, as the Balbafay Stranraer-based social enterprise, which established the Base Enterprise Centre in 2016. And prior to managing the base, Leah worked in HR for an international consulting firm based in London.
All right, we're in conversation with Kieran O'Donnell, the presenter of the Business Matters podcast, and we're going to be looking forward to what's coming up on this week's podcast after we take a very short break.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
At Tesco, we've got something for everyone this bank holiday. Exclusive to Tesco, pick up Farpit Ultimate Burgers and more, any 3 for €10. Farpit barbecue buns and hot dog rolls from €1.45. Plus the perfect drink, My Waddy Orange 1 litre and 7up Lemon and Lime 2 litre, now 3 for €3. Shop all of our top offers online today at tesco.ie. Tesco, every little helps.
All ready for next year? Why not make sure of it with SEAT? Trade up to a 221 SEAT SUV and you'll be offered PCP finance from 1.9% and a 3-year service plan for just $9.99 a month. With the bold new Arona, the stylish new Ateca, or the outstanding 7-seater Tarraco, we're all ready. Are you? Trade up to your 221 SEAT SUV at DMG Motors, Claw Road, Donegal Town. Finance provided by way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland, trading as SEAT Financial Services. Subject to lending criteria. Terms and conditions apply. Visit seat.ie/221 for further information.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring half-price sale. Get up to 50% off everything in store. All kitchen and bathroom tiles, all wood flooring, all bathware, all cladding. Everything's reduced. It's our biggest ever sale. The Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring half-price sale. Stores nationwide. Sale ends Sunday.
GiveBlood.ie know we can count on you, our community of blood donors, to give blood and to choose to be there for others in their hour of need. Blood donors from Letterkenny and Trinity Hall, Bumbeg, should attend the clinic in the Radisson Blue Hotel in Letterkenny from Monday 25th to Thursday 28th of April. To ensure social distancing, all donors need to make an appointment, so call 1-800-731-137 to book your time. New donors are welcome. Visit giveblood.ie to check eligibility and clinic details, because we count on you.
Business Matters in association with the Faculty of Business at ATU Donegal. Looking for a career in financial services? Consider the Level 9 MA in Governance, Compliance and Data Protection. Take the next step in your career and contact the Exec Ed Coordinator on 9186206 or email execed, execed @lyit.ie today.
Okay, now on to this week's podcast. And and I've said this to you before, you just don't know what you're going to get. It's all different types of business from all different parts of the region. And who is your guest this week?
Yeah, Greg, my guest this week is Mary Bradley, owner of Pat's Pizza in Letterkenny. A member of the well-known Keeney family, Mary's ambition from a young age was to own her own restaurant. So as a young girl, she worked in the famous Fiesta Ballroom, which was opened by her father Fancy and Uncle Connell Hugh in 1960. Mary graduated from Dublin College of Catering in 1981 and worked in Dublin for 3 years before moving back to Letterkenny to open her first unit on Market Square with her husband Pat. In 2014, the pair were named joint winners of the Letterkenny Chamber of Commerce Business Person of the Year Award. And in this clip, Mary talks about coming up with the idea of setting up the first pizza outlet in the Northwest 38 years ago.
When Pat would come and visit me at the weekend from Galway, our favourite takeaway was this really good pizza place down in Rathmines, like proper pizza. And like every Saturday night, Pat used to cycle down, well, when he was there, and we used to get a 12-inch pizza with a little of everything on it. This is where we got our Supreme from. And so it was just delicious. So we thought, no, wouldn't this? And then one weekend, we were every second weekend, I'd either go to Galway, or Pat would come to Dublin, or we'd come to Letterkenny. We'd meet up in Letterkenny. And one night, late at night, we were sitting in the square after getting 4 lanterns. Probably had been to the grill. We were young. Remember, we were young. And so we were sitting in the square eating whatever we'd got. And we thought, no, wouldn't a pizza place do really well here in the square?
And just like that, they created I haven't actually had a Pat's Pizza, believe it or not.
You must be the only person
I would say
in the Northwest.
Well, I'm not from Letterkenny, you see.
We'll treat you.
Yeah? Okay. We haven't got anything else we were fishing for, so we might get a pizza. No, I'm only joking. But it is amazing. You see, but when you hear and you talk to Mary Moore in the interview, of course, Kieran, because it's not as simple as having an idea and then making it happen. But some people, this is what business people do.
A wee bit like that. I suppose the difference with Mary, as I said in the intro, is her ambition from a young age to own her own restaurant. She came from a business background. There was always business in the family. She worked for her father out in the Fiesta, and her love of baking and cooking and business all moulded into the perfect situation for herself and Pat. And they were sitting outside the kiosk, which is owned by the late Danny McLaughlin. They looked across the road, and the building that they were there for so long was for rent, and they agreed a deal, and it was £80 a week, almost 40 years ago.
That's right, it's not that now. But as I say, it's just you can see how you might be fit to do, but people like me will always be where I'm at because I wouldn't take the risk. I wouldn't sort of, you know what I mean? And that's why I do really genuinely admire anyone who owns a business. If it's even like that, the lady earlier on, we were chatting to her sister, a hairdresser's in her house, to Pat's, to whatever it is, to Pat's Pizzas. I just think you have to have.
It takes a lot of courage.
You have something in you, and I envy them. Is really what I'm saying. It's a compliment. I hope it comes across as such because that's what it is. Right. So you have a good chat with Mary Bradley. I think even those that know her quite well will learn something from this interview. It's available in the latest podcast from Kieran. It's the Business Matters podcast here from Highland Radio. It's on our website right now in the on-demand section, so you can listen whenever you choose. The same applies if you want to listen to it on Spotify or iTunes, if you're out having a walk or run, but you can still listen to it on our website in that scenario as well. But if you just want to sit down and we'll play it for you at a scheduled time on a Sunday. When is it, Kieran?
After the 6 o'clock news, Greg, on Sunday evening.
Radio. And if anyone wants to get in touch, some feedback on the podcast or even suggested items, I'm sure you're more than welcome to receive all correspondence, Kieran.
Yeah, for sure. Send me an email, please. businessmatters@highlandradio.com.
All right, Kieran, looking forward to chatting to you next Wednesday, and thank you very much for that. I appreciate it greatly. You too. All right, that's Kieran O'Donnell. And just to remind you one more time, the podcast available for you to listen as you wish on highlandradio.com. You'll see in the on-demand section on Spotify or iTunes, or on Sunday just after the 6 o'clock news. Right, back with the final segment of the 9 till noon show after we get these messages.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
At Hickey, Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey, Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Sheridan Security now introducing zero-wire smart alarm systems. Zero wire, zero mess, and a real peace of mind. With a simple press of a button, your alarm can be set or unset, or download the free app and control it from your phone. Call us today on 074 912 6025 and get your alarm from €299. Stay local, stay safe, and protect what you value most with Sheridan Security Systems.
Charles Bonner & Sons Ballybuffet are the leading suppliers of solid fuel and wood pellet stoves and ranges, bringing warmth and comfort to homes in Donegal and beyond for nearly 50 years. So visit our showrooms in Ballybuffet or call us on 074 9131 700 or online at thestovestore.ie for more details.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Get ready to hit the beach and soak up the sun by choosing flights to Alicante, Barcelona, Faro, Mallorca, Malaga and Milan this summer with Ryanair. Ireland West Airport, you're flying.
Okie doke. So the weather forecast for today is sunny spells with temperatures of 12 to 14 degrees and light easterly breezes. Now, dry, mostly clear tonight. Temperatures dip into 2 or 3 degrees, believe it or not, in light variable breezes. Some mist and fog patches will develop towards dawn, clearing quickly with the rising sun. Tomorrow, sunny spells again and staying mostly dry. Highest temperatures of 11 to 14 degrees and mostly light easterly or variable breezes. Never cast a clout, or don't cast a clout until May is out. A couple of people texting in, but this one, 5 words, really quite simple off the back of our conversation. Just applied for my donor card. Fair play to you. 6 words, is it? It is 6. Anyway, be that as it may. Right, okay, so you would know Father John Joe Duffy has a very strong interest in the fishing industry, and I think he was listening to our conversation with the SFPA, the head of it, and he joins us on the programme now to give us a reaction. There's been a lot of conversation from the industry. I think that's the first time we've heard from the SFPA itself directly. As I said during the course of that conversation, it's not because we weren't looking for it, but be that as it may, we've heard from them. What is your initial reaction to that interview, Father John Joe?
Good morning, Greg. I'm in a state of shock after that interview because we shouldn't be on here this morning at all if what Pascal Hayes said is correct, that the pierside scales at Kellybegs, he said, is allowed to be used. It's permitted, which was true, but Pascal Hayes revoked the right for that pierside scales to be used on the 6th of March without any consultation with the industry. My belief is that the SFPA, which I call the private police force of the higher echelons in the failed Department of Marine, are intent on shutting Kellybegs down completely. Fishermen have no problem with fish being weighed, fish being checked, but it's the manner in which the SFPA are doing so by taking the water off the fish and making them unfit for human consumption.
He said what is not put out there publicly, although we have mentioned this throughout the entire conversation, is that it's 5% of landings, or 7.5% of all fish. That Kellybegs is booming in landing, let's say, for instance, blue whiting, and it's a very, very small proportion of that which we are focused on. And he kind of said as well that individual skippers might be more inclined to work with the SFPA, but he didn't reject the notion that perhaps there are those stirring the pot.
There's absolutely no stirring of the pot. That's disingenuous on behalf of Pascal Hayes.
In fairness, now, he never said that, but he never rejected the suggestion.
Well, it's totally wrong. The fishermen are very cooperative, but the problem is that they want to put the fish over a weighbridge, take the water off the fish and make them unfit for human consumption. I was in Kellybegs yesterday evening, and Kellybegs has an eerie silence about it. Their vessels are all tied up. Look at marine traffic and see the amount of foreign vessels that are fishing off our coast yesterday evening. There's nobody working on the piers in Kellybegs yesterday evening. All you have to do is go down to Kellybegs and see the situation. In the harbour of Kellybegs, we have seen over the last few months factory workers being sent home as recently as this weekend. factory workers were again sent home. The ordinary people earning an ordinary wage are being put out of work by people on massive wages. That's my opinion of the situation.
Is it
because
possible?
of the harassment that has been the harassment,
The SFP, I would say, it's
the
enforcement.
discrimination and the heavy-handedness, I would say, of the FPA towards fishermen. That scales that they are not allowing to be used, that he said is allowed to be used. The High Court said that the SFPA last July, they said, were in contravention of EU law and Irish law, and that the scales was perfectly fit to be used. So what is going on? What is going on is that the SFPA are trying to close down Kellybegs, and that is the long and short of it. They're trying to eject,
if that
they're
were
trying to
Father
destroy
John
the
Joe,
Irish
for a
fishing
moment, please.
industry.
For a moment, if you don't mind, with respect.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
But they would say that they are enforcing the rules that perhaps are being enforced more stringently because of allegations of how we were weighing our fish in the past, that they have a role to play, say, for instance, like the Gardaí have a role to play in checking for speeding, that they have to have a role to play. The Gardaí in checking for speeding aren't trying to shut down roads. Is it truly fair to say, what would motivate the SFPA to try and shut down the Irish fishing industry, for example?
I believe that the SFPA are the private police force of higher echelons within the Department of the Marine that have failed the Irish industry for years and decimated the Irish industry. Look at how Burton Port has been closed down. Burton Port once had 48 fishermen in 1977, 48 more fishermen fishing out of it than Kellybegs. The motivation, of trying to close down the Irish fishing industry, one has to look at...
Well, let's focus on then the Department of the Marine.
Well, can we look at Brexit for a second?
Oh, yeah.
And we saw the loss of 109 value-added fish to be landed at piers throughout the country, lost in the Brexit negotiations. There was 43 million of fish landing at the pier without the value added taken away from Ireland in the Brexit negotiations. 146 million divided among 10 other states in the European Union. Mm-hmm. We should have only paid back 15 out of that 43 million of fish at the very most. So there is just total mismanagement, and I have no doubt that the SFPA are being put out by the higher echelons within the department to persecute Irish fishermen. Indeed, when I was on the pier in Kellybegs yesterday evening, it was just a sad and sorrowful sight to see almost the entire Irish fleet tied up. And yet, when you go down to Kellybegs and there are foreign vessels landing, French, Spanish, etc., the fish comes out of the boat, goes into the lorry, and is shipped off to France. But Irish fishermen have no problem with the controls if the fish can be weighed in a manner that makes them fit for human consumption. Mm-hmm. You asked a very pertinent question, Greg. You asked about the risk-based analysis and why boats are monitored. And the FFPA themselves said there is a risk-based analysis on them carrying out monitors of boats. The Lauren, the last boat to be checked, was on her maiden voyage, her very first fishing voyage.
Well, then you have to maybe dig it a bit deeper as to what they mean by risk then.
Yeah, but there was no track record of this boat fishing, so what do they mean by risk?
Maybe it's crew. I haven't a clue. I don't know. That's why I wanted...
You asked the question, very, very pertinent questions, but...
Like, I think for what is going on, I would like to see, literally, by what I mean by that is it written down, what risk assessment means. What is the risk criteria? You know, if is it like if someone has a noisy exhaust, you might think they could be at a risk of speeding. I'm not saying that's accurate, but I don't know. I'm plucking at straws here. Father John Joe, as always, listen, I wish we had more time. This is going to rumble on. I think the SFPA says they're willing to meet industry tomorrow, but he said industry doesn't seem to be available. I hope I'm not misquoting him in saying that.
The reality of it is, and I would like to point out that many from the industry are at an international processor conference in Barcelona, and others, as we know,
and quite randomly, I bumped into some of them in Cavan of all places at the weekend. That's how small a country we live in, Father John Joe. As I was ordering a breakfast roll, in the last minute.
Could I make an appeal directly to Taoiseach and the government to visit Killybegs and to sort out this terrible mess, which is
wouldn't it be great to see the backbenchers? Wouldn't it be great to see the backbenchers take such a robust stance on this issue as they have on the very important issue of turf burning?
Absolutely.
Wouldn't it? To say to call Charlie McConalogue to a meeting and say this issue could cause the collapse of this government. Wouldn't it be interesting?
Okay. Fishermen were allowed to weigh fish in a safe manner until the 6th of March. And you can weigh them in this safe manner to make them safe for human consumption and fit for human consumption in every other country of the EU bar Ireland.
All right, Father John Joe, I wish I didn't have to rush you along. My apologies, but you know yourself with the time. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. That's where we have to leave it.